Well, good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. No Stan today. I believe a wedding or something. I don't remember. But he'll be back next week. Coming up on the program today, Buck Showalter. Maybe you've heard of him. Former Orioles manager, of course, MLB Network analyst. We're just going to talk some baseball, talk some birds with him. Because why not? He's Buck Showalter. I'd do it every day if he'd let me. Ben Davis is one of the color analysts for the Philadelphia Phillies on NBC Sports Philadelphia, and he will join us later on this morning. We will preview the Orioles and Phillies. That series gets underway tonight. Some marquee pitching matchups this weekend. Talk about that with Ben Davis. Go through the rest of the week in baseball. We call it This Week in the Rest of Baseball. We'll do that later as well. All that coming up on a Friday edition of the program. Obviously unpleasant yesterday. Cole Irvin a little shaky early. Reminded me of that. What was the Grayson Rodriguez start where he struck out everybody, and everybody that didn't strike out, they just hit the crap out of the ball? Yeah, was that the start in Anaheim, I want to say? Is that the one?
Did it happen twice this year then? Because wasn't there
no,
2
yeah,
weeks
he
ago?
got he got rocked in Anaheim. You're right. Whatever that was.
Yeah, it was it was like his career high.
Yeah, correct. And the same thing for Cole Irvin, I believe, yesterday. New career high in strikeouts. It's just that everyone that didn't strike out battered him. As the Braves came out swinging early, scored 2 quick runs. Orioles bats never really got going. In fairness, Reynaldo Lopez, very good.
Against the Red Sox.
Red Sox, thank you. Reynaldo Lopez, very, 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 very good. They finally got to him after Reynaldo, not to him. They finally got to the Braves after Reynaldo Lopez came out of the game as Kyle Stowers crushed his first Major League home run since 2022. And it felt good. You were like, wow, they're right back in it, man. It's a one-run game. And then that lasted for all of like a millisecond. Brought him back to the plate as a tying run in the 9th inning, but that, alas, was not meant to be as the Orioles lose 6-3. Couple of things from yesterday, just sloppy, and in particular, the bummer is that, Gunnar was right in the middle of the sloppiness, right? Just balls you got to catch. That's the reality of it. Just a sloppy game. And that happens, and it's okay to lose 1 game out of 6. That ain't going to be a problem. That math will math. That'll work every time. But, things get really interesting now. And by the way, God bless you, Kansas City Royals. Thank you.
Finally.
Thank you for your service.
They could have won a few more. That would
have been great. That would have been great. But we'll take what we can get. And considering that the Yankees never lose, winning 1, accomplishment. Now the Orioles enter a week that really does become a serious measuring stick type of week. And we don't want to overinflate or overvalue any one particular game or one particular series or anything like that because it's still June. There is still an eternity in a baseball season. It'd be like overvaluing a week 6 or 7 matchup in the NFL. Hell, last year, the ones late in the season didn't even end up really being all that valuable because the Ravens won those by blowout fashion over good football teams. And yet, what did it mean at the end of the year? Anyway, moral of the story being, I like measuring stick. That's the way I always like referring to these things. It doesn't prove anything, but it does give you a little bit of a sense of where you are. I think a year ago it was that series against the Astros that was significant. It was the first time you were like, okay, this is kind of where you are. This next week, these 6 games, 3 this weekend, then they have the day off on Monday, and then 3 after that against the Yankees in New York. This next week provides, to me, the first real and I get it, they played the Yankees. I think we should acknowledge that Aaron Judge was not Aaron Judge at that point. And that doesn't mean that those wins don't count. I want to make that abundantly clear. The Orioles, that was the best result so far this season. You want to prove to somebody that a lot of people will try to knock the Phillies, for example, because the Phillies pull up the strength of schedule thing. It's like they're at the damn near at the bottom. Strength of schedule. Now, one of the things, obviously, you can't play yourself. And in the National League this year, it's just kind of a weird bit where, like, everybody's 500. Go take a look. We were talking about this. One of the maybe Mark Feinsand. One of the conversations we were having the last couple of days is about the Cardinals, and like the Cardinals aren't good, and yet they're right in the thick of the playoff race because there's no one over 500 in the National League that. Hang on a second. How do I say this right? All of the playoff positions at the moment are held by teams over 500. No one else in the National League is over 500. Everybody else, and by the way, like I think the Padres are like 2 games over 500. So it's a little bit different in the National League, and that has impacted strength of schedule for the Philadelphia Phillies. So people want to knock the Phillies because of strength of schedule. The Orioles, I want to say, are something like 20-9 against teams with winning records. I believe it was 20-8 going into yesterday, and so now it's 20-9 against teams with winning records on the season. There is additional evidence that the Orioles are separated and good, and part of that, of course, is a series win over the Yankees already this season, which almost no one has, if you've been looking around. Not a lot of teams that can claim that. But we do have to acknowledge that was a Yankees team that didn't have Aaron Judge going yet. Now they got Aaron Judge going. Now it looks like the MVP again. It's crazy. So it's a little bit different this time around. And again, I don't want to it's really important that when I say that, I'm not dismissing what the Orioles already did. That matters. You play the games that you play. Whoever is hitting at that point, somebody could turn around and say, well, Anthony Santander didn't have it going for the. Say whatever you want to say. That's fine. I get it. All of these things can be true. They don't disqualify each other. They're just additional context. Aaron Judge was having a subpar season. All of a sudden, he looks like the MVP of the league. That's a dramatic difference. That's not, hey, Anthony Santander didn't have it going. That's significant. That doesn't mean that you have to crown him. I'm not trying to be Dennis Green. We're going to do a let him off the hook thing. We're not doing that. We're just saying that that's a difference this time around, and why, to me, this week, including those 3 games in New York, is more of a measuring stick for the Orioles than even those games were. Now you're facing a Yankees team with both Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, which is what makes them so effing scary. Well, and the pitching, obviously. But the Orioles have pretty good pitching, too, for the most part. Yeah. Wasn't so great after they got back within a run yesterday. Would have been nice to maybe not give 2 runs right back. That would have been pleasant. Conversation for another day. This is a huge measuring stick week. This is a great opportunity. You don't get anything for it. They're not doing an in-season tournament. They're not going to let you hang a banner. By the way, when do we get to the Lakers-Celtics championship series between the in-season and postseason
the Celtics have to win the finals first.
Right, I understand, but that's happening. So when do we do because we have 2 different champions. We got to figure out who the real champion is, right? Like we got to.
The Celtics are the real champions.
Well,
they're actually the only champions.
They're the postseason.
They're actually the only champions.
Well, they'd be the postseason champions. Then they have you have the in-season champions.
The Lakers. Sorry, I meant to say Lakers are the only champions.
Oh, right. Right now, they're the only ones that have won a championship.
Champions.
But should the Celtics join them as the postseason champions, then you would have to have the in-season versus postseason,
Does this
right?
count towards the Lakers like all time?
Oh yeah, it has to. They hung a banner. I get it.
IST champions.
There's not going to be a banner this time.
Maybe they should.
4-2 against the Phillies and Yankees. 2024, 4-2 against the Phillies and Yankees in June. it's still not as embarrassing as the AFC finalist banner.
6-3 if you add in the Braves.
Yeah, right? Yeah, there you go. Aim high. Look, man, that's all I'm saying. It's a big week. Big week against two teams that and I guess the Phillies just lost to the Red Sox, right?
They did.
So, proving that was all fluke. Told you it was just about the schedule. That's all it was. They're not really that good. Could come in here. All those fans coming down from Philly, they're going to get their ass kicked. I am actually legitimately concerned about that because I'm taking my children tonight.
What, you think you're going to get your ass kicked? Or
No.
You're going to be kicking ass?
Yeah,
Okay.
right? Like, it's going to be a Randy Marsh situation. I thought this is America. I'm going to be getting arrested. My father's just going to be like, all right, I guess I'm driving the kids home. Dad stopped by the jail to pick up Dad. No, I'm a little bit worried about how many Phillies fans there might be there this weekend because, like, this has been a big thing all year that, like, their groups have been eyeing and, like, organizing.
The Mid-Atlantic.
No, they've been, like, organizing. Let's make a trip down to Baltimore. They, like, scooped up a ton of tickets. That's why the games were sold out so far ahead of time. I'm just a bit worried that, like, tonight my boys are going to look around like, why are people cheering for Bryce Harper? Like, I'm just a little bit worried. They've never experienced that before. So we'll see. We'll see how many Phillies fans are there this evening. What?
Man. I'm just like looking at ticket prices for like the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one of those weekends. But if you're there tonight, stop out and see me. Buy my kids a beer.
Oh, nice.
They're IPA guys.
Are they?
Yeah.
They're very mature.
I don't know. Buy them some Cracker Jacks or something. Buy them something. Get some Twizzlers. Crab mac and cheese. No, they won't like those. Whatever. Well, they would. They might. I won't tell them there's crab on it. They get nervous about things. My younger son would love it. My older son, anything that's outside of his, like, if it's not exactly
outside
what he eats.
Chicken tenders and
yes, very very regimented.
I mean,
he's got a very strict diet. Chicken tenders, cheese quesadillas.
He's what, 7 now?
Pizza.
So
No, the older son is 9.
Okay.
9. The younger son has a palate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the younger
He's the
son.
one
Well, he's like a chef. Like, he likes to make dinner. He made barbecue chicken tacos the other night. Like, the younger son, he's got that kid's cool. Older son,
that kid's cool.
Got to work with him. Like, love him, but he's got a ways to go, man. He's living in this is my world, this is my bubble, this is what I do. Leave me alone, right?
Chicken tenders and IPAs, that's all.
Chicken tenders and IPAs, that's the type of man he's. I think we'll go to Maryland Yards, though, before the game. I haven't been yet, so I'm looking forward to that. The new location that was just opened up by the folks at Guilford Hall Brewery in the old Frank and Nick's across the street. So, again, stop by. I think we're getting there around 5:30. Stop by and buy me a Guilford, right? Like, that's what I want you to do. Stop by, or the boys, really, because I don't drink. So, and neither does my father. We're gonna be the teetotalers tonight. Like, good thing we're driving. The kids can go crazy this evening.
That's
they
very
can really
nice of you.
they can really let loose.
Because combined they're combined they're
nope,
still 16.
Nope, still
but
not legally old enough to drink. Still not, even if you combine them. But we're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna have a good time. There's no giveaway tonight, right?
There is
That's
not.
a bummer. The kids love a giveaway night. God, they love a giveaway night.
Who doesn't?
All right. Well, no, because the real problem is now they might ask me to buy them something, right? Like, if there's a giveaway, then I'm probably in the clear, right? Like, we had the Adley Rutschman Captain America bobblehead last year. We went for that one. We're good, right? My father and I just gave ours to them. We're all good.
Yeah, man, nothing.
When we get to a night like tonight where there's no giveaway, then it becomes problematic because then they're going to want to go to the store. They're going to want to take some time and go see some things.
They're going to see that T. Rowe Price.
And once they see that T. Rowe Price patch, they're
going to
say,
yes.
That's what we need. That's what we need. Yeah. Anyway, pitching matchups, obviously, for the weekend. I mentioned there's some juicy pitching matchups this weekend. There's some, tonight, Ranger Suarez, Kyle Bradish. That ain't bad. That don't suck. Might not be a ton of runs scored tonight. Ranger Suarez, Kyle Bradish.
Might be none.
Yeah, right. Tomorrow, Taiwan Walker, Grayson Rodriguez. It's not. One of those guys has held up their end of the bargain this year. And then on Sunday, take Dad to that one. Zach Wheeler, Corbin Burns. Yeah.
These guys are pretty good.
Zach Wheeler's got a 2.16 ERA, and it's the worst of the two pitchers in that game. Bonkers. So, yeah, tonight and Sunday, tremendous pitching matchups on paper. Tomorrow, it's not like there is no chance that Taijuan Walker could channel a former version of himself, but should be a great weekend. Should be a great weekend of baseball and a great opportunity for these teams to kind of measure each other and go from there, and maybe, who knows, a World Series preview, right? Like, you just never know if that might not be the case. All right, a couple of things. One, I will post. I did have the request from a few people this week. We'll post it. I want to start next week. After every time we put somebody else up on the board, we just come up with a new shell for like a post on the website.
Okay.
And
All
just
right,
just add and maybe do a different picture if we put somebody new up there, right? Like, just let's get used to that starting on Monday. Hopefully there's 3 to put up on Monday. I hope that's the case. I was trying to figure out who's the most surprising that's not been up on the board yet for this season.
Because all the starters have been up there.
Right? Right.
Yeah.
Burns, Grayson, Bradish, Irvin,
a lot.
Suarez.
Yeah.
Kramer has been
up
up on there. Means got up on there before he got hurt, but that's why I've covered him up on either side, because there's not going to be stars going up on Means.
Oh, so this is an anti-Cedric Mullins situation that you got up there then? Trying to cover him up?
Well, no. If we need to put – right now the problem is he's next to Gunnar, and Gunnar has a lot of stars. So if that becomes a problem, then I can just –
Kyle Stallers is up there. I guess Heston Kjerstad is not on the board.
Well, he's not on the team currently either.
Yeah,
so
but
that's part of the story.
Yeah, when I cut that Mullins one, I was assuming, I needed a lot of room.
Yeah, unfortunately, not been the case yet, but that can change at any moment.
James McCann's up there.
Arias? No, Arias has not been up there.
Not up there.
Arias is one of the few that has not made it up this season so far. So
Brendan Hyde's not up there.
no, we don't do manager as man of the match. Manager does not get to be manager. You know who I guess the one would be Craig Kimbrell is not up on the board, right?
Not up there.
And part of that, of course, being it's harder to measure Craig Kimbrell because you're still like. But if there were a situation, I'm gonna guess that Felix Bautista was man of the match a few times last season.
So.
If there were a situation, then I could see it. So. We'll start doing that on the website, glennclarkradio.com, every day that there is a new man of the match, or that we, update man of the match. And we'll just keep the tally is what I think people want. They want to see the tally of who's been man of the match. So we'll work on that for Monday will be the plan for that. So that's 1. Number 2, we're doing the soccer thing. John Proctor came up with some cockamamie thing.
We trade teams?
Hey, you want to talk to Jeremy about it? You can talk about it. I still don't know. Do we know what his point system is?
I don't know. It's the John Proctor points.
Because I know who we all have. I have España, Switzerland, Czechia, which, to be fair, I had no idea was a country. This is your boy learning something new today. This is why we do these games, is because it's nice to learn. It's good to get educated. Czechia is the Czech Republic. Apparently, at some point, we started calling it Czechia. I was not aware of that. Mexico. Son of a bitch.
What's wrong with Mexico?
We hate them.
They're going to lose to the U.S.
In soccer, we hate them. We want to see them get their asses kicked. In Canada, and I don't trust them. That's my team. Griffin's got the Netherlands. That seems like a good one. Serbia, Slovenia, Colombia, who can't lose right now. Like the Colombia, of course, who pummeled the U.S. by about 27 goals last weekend. And Paraguay.
Yeah, I'll trade Paraguay for U.S. if Jeremy wants.
Hey, you better talk to Jeremy about it. Little Rock. John in Little Rock has Belgium.
John has Little Rock?
Yeah, right. Belgium. This is not a great. If I'm John in Little Rock, I'd probably be angry. He's got Belgium, Turkey, Poland.
Is that how it's spelled?
What?
Turkey?
No, it's definitely not how. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's how it's spelled in Turkish. Poland, Chile, and Panama. I don't like
chance.
I don't know. But
Belgium's,
but it's not just about winning,
Yeah.
and that's why I got to. Can you call Proctor and find out what the scoring system is real quick?
Can we call him over there?
It's fine. I'm fine. I just want to know what the scoring system is because he told it to me yesterday, but I've already forgotten. Nick Kelly has Germany, Austria, Scotland, who so he's got both teams playing today. Uruguay and Peru.
So he needs a draw?
Yeah, right, I guess. Jeremy has I'm jealous. I want Jeremy's team. He's got the 2 teams I'm rooting for. Jeremy's got Italy and the U.S., plus he's got the Ukraine, Albania, and Bolivia. This one is the one, as Proctor points out, the big winner of the random draw was Ryan Chell, as he comes away with both France and Argentina. plus Denmark, Georgia, which is weird, right? Like you wouldn't think that Proctor's there. Hang on. Well, let me go through the rest of the teams.
Okay, all right.
And Jamaica for Ryan Chell. And then Kalottenheimer has England, Hungary, Slovakia, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. John Proctor's team, he's got some studs on his team too. I don't know how I feel about this draw. Proctor's got Portugal, Croatia, Romania, Brazil. It's a big one, and Venezuela. Although Brazil lost 1-1 to the United States this week, like that's a pretty embarrassing loss for them.
You said? Did you say loss?
Yeah, they lost 1-1. It was a dreadful loss. Great win for the U.S. Huge win for the Americans.
Did it go
1-1 over Brazil.
They went to PKs?
No, they don't do PKs in their friendly. They won 1-1. Yeah, you heard me. That was a big 1-1 win. Yeah, that math works.
They won.
That math works. They won.
What's the score?
Yes, the score
0-0.
Right.
Who's winning?
The Bears. There's no chance. He doesn't know pride. Come on. He does. He has no chance in a million years. The fact that he pulled Dumb and Dumber out of his ass yesterday was a miracle.
Dumb and Dumber's
There's
classic.
no chance. I could give you 5. This would be like the
since you said Bears,
50 guesses.
Bad News Bears?
No, it's definitely not Bad
Yeah,
News
I was
Bears.
like,
But it is a film set in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Involves, of course, Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
Home Alone 2. I don't know.
Home Alone 2 was actually not set in Chicago.
Well,
it was set in New York.
Chicago, didn't they?
It was in Chicago for like 5 minutes.
So it was
and then the rest
probably Home Alone 5 was the Chicago one or something, probably.
No, the first Home Alone was very much set in Chicago. Everybody knows that. But that's, of course, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which if that's not, we can add that to the list. Let's do a movie review next week, all right?
Yeah,
let's
I should
do
be
that.
able to watch
you tell
a
me,
movie this
you
weekend.
choose one for me.
I have, okay. Do I choose one? Or?
Well, what's on the list?
Mallrats.
Mallrats is a good one.
Yeah, I can't believe I haven't watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
You want to do that? Let's
what about Dogma? Is Dogma on the list also?
It is not on the list.
But he would need to watch Mallrats. I think with the Kevin Smith films, you almost have to go not fully in order because, like, I think you can. He should watch Clerks. He should watch Clerks. I don't know how you do that. I don't know. You can skip Chasing Amy. That one, not necessarily. Not necessary. But I would watch Mallrats and Clerks before I watch Dogma. And then you can watch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and be thankful for your place in life. Anyway, the moral of the story is, let's do Ferris Bueller. Let's do that.
Okay.
That'll be a fun one. It's come up a couple times now. All right, Proctor, explain the scoring for me.
So right now, I have it as 3 wins 3 points per win, 1 point per draw. I had thought about doing an extra point for quarterfinal, semifinal wins, and 2 bonus points for a final win.
That works for me.
Okay. I just got to figure out how to do the automatic scoring.
Does it have to be a win or just advancing?
It has to be just a win.
No, I mean like when you get to the knockout round. If you go 2-2 and then you quote unquote win penalty kicks, that's not officially considered a win.
Ooh, advancing.
Okay,
for the sake of our thing, it's advancing.
In the knockout rounds, you advance. Right. You give me the system again.
1 bonus point for quarter and semifinals.
Okay.
And then 2 bonus points for winning the final. The final gets you 5 points instead of 3.
Should we do it 1, 2, 3? Like 1 point for a quarterfinal win, and 2 points for a semifinal.
I thought about that, but I didn't want it to eliminate the rest of the points. Like if you do that, then you're just making it easier for whoever wins to take it away without anybody else having a shot.
Okay, I'll listen to that argument. All right. So will you now? Who has to update this? Is this a Griffin situation, or will this?
Griff can update it, and it's very simple. All you do is put W or D next to the people who win or draw.
Okay.
On the match sheet.
Can you figure that out, Griffin? All right, you guys can talk about that off the
the matches. Okay, I see.
All right, you guys can talk about that.
Yep.
And none of the other stuff that we had talked about because it's just too complicated. None of the other like underdog wins, anything like that.
No, it was a bit much.
It's just too much. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So again, top points gets the cash.
When they draw, John, do I put a D next to both names or?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Top points gets the cash. Lowest points has to eat 5 mayo dogs.
4?
5.
3?
5 mayo dogs during the course of one show. And Jeremy Kahn is pissed off about his team. You know why? Because Jeremy Kahn hates America. I don't want to.
I'll see if he wants Paramount.
I don't want to be the one to say it. Jeremy Kahn texted us last night and said, "Who the hell drew these teams? I don't want the USA." Jeremy Kahn hates America.
He's got Italy. They're not bad.
Him and they're the defending champions of the Euro, which is the weirdest thing ever because they can't make the World Cup. I don't know how to explain it. Italy's got a weird thing going on where they compete really well in Europe, but the moment they can deal with qualifying for the World Cup, they're just like, we're good. We're good. We'll just keep winning the Euro instead. It's nonsense. So Jeremy hates America, much like the former president. But yet that's who he's got. I would take his group. I would like to have his group because there's the teams that I want to root for, and that would make it more fun for me.
I can trade your group with Jeremy's group if that's good with both of you guys.
So Griffin wanted to push for a trade himself. I say we don't allow trades. I say this is like the value of the draft in fantasy football. I know your trade history, Proctor. I don't want anybody trading. I don't want any trades.
It's immaculate.
Yeah,
immaculate.
Is it though? Is it immaculate?
Listen, I think what you should do is allow everybody one trade, but if they take the trade and then lose, if they don't win, they have to do 2 hot dogs. If they lose, they get double hot dogs.
How am I supposed to keep track of this? I can't
I got
possibly. Oh, you've got it. I don't know. I'm saying no. I'm saying no trades. I'm saying no trades. That's the way that it's going to go. All right.
Coward.
So you think that Ryan is the favorite?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got France, who's just like perennially strong, and then Argentina's the favorite to win Copa. Like
it's like the overwhelming favorite too, which is wild to me. Like
yeah.
I would think that I guess it's not overwhelming. Brazil's right there. Yeah, I think that you've got both Portugal and Brazil. So I think
I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, I bet you're not, a-hole. I bet you're not.
I mean, well, Nick's got
Uruguay and Germany. Yep.
Like
correct.
He's got a lot of middle.
That's pretty strong.
Like, I mean,
and again, Colombia is red hot right now. Like Colombia apparently has not lost in I don't know, years or something like that. I don't know how to explain.
Well, with Chelsea's team, he's got 2 all-stars, and then the rest of his team's bad, so he might not get points outside of those 2.
By the way, Colombia is unbeaten in their last 22 matches.
Viva Colombia!
Wow.
Last time they lost was against Argentina in a World Cup qualifier in 2022. 2022.
Wow. They are licking their chops.
Over 2 years since Colombia has lost a match, Griffin. That's what you're riding with. Meanwhile, I'm stuck over here with my scrub-ass team, Czechia, which I didn't even know was a thing. I had no idea. No one had told me.
Czech Republic.
I'm aware of that now, but no one told me. And I've got to root for Mexico, and it's nothing but bad people. It's like rapists, and what did he say? They're not sending us their best.
No, those are the ones that came here. They kept the good ones.
Right.
Don't you read?
Thank you. They kept all the good ones. I'm supposed to root for them, and you haven't heard. They're invading our country. They're ruining us.
They kept the good soccer. Well, they got the good soccer players.
They
right?
do.
So
I think they have the good soccer
should be
players.
good.
So that's who I've got to root for during the course of the next few weeks. All right, today is Germany, Scotland, right? That's how this all starts.
3:00.
And so how does that how did that work out?
Deadline, 3 p.m.?
Yeah, no, we're not doing trades. Poor Nick Kelly, who the first day has 2 of his teams going against each other. So I guess
he could have 2 points or 3 points at the end.
But that's the point. He can't root for a draw because a draw only gets him 2 total points because he get 1 point for each. He's just got to root for somebody to win the match.
Results.
That's what he needs. Yes, he needs someone to win the match today.
And then whoever wins to win, just keep winning.
All right. But the 2 of you'll figure out how to keep us updated. We'll update the standings daily between now and the end of the Copa. All right. That's the plan.
Sure.
Proctor, thank you.
Yes. Thanks,
all your
John.
hard work.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon. See you, buddy.
Anytime you need a spreadsheet, I'm here for you.
You are Dr. Spreadsheet. Thank you for that, John Proctor. Taking care of this for us. So, 8 of us in. Brian Powell got back to me last night. Brian Powell's like, dude, can I still get in? I'm like, you son of a bitch. Where were you when we needed you? We had to force people that didn't want to be into this thing to get into it.
I think everyone that's in is in.
He also tells me there might be some weather in the forecast tonight, which would be a real problem for me. Now, go ahead.
What's he talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, I see sun. I see a lot of blue now.
Looks fine to you. I see wind and hail are possible.
Hail tonight?
Yeah. So, not great. Not ideal for your old pal GC. and trying to take his boys to the baseball game tonight. I'm seeing right from 7 to 10 o'clock. Perfect. Could you imagine if they try to start the game at 10:30 with my 7-year-old and 9-year-old? Oh, this one's going to be a test. This is going to be a test.
That won't be the end of the world for me. I can just take a nap all afternoon.
Yeah, you got no problem whatsoever. Mrs. Clark is already mad at me because she's like, "You're going to leave early, right?" I'm like, No, it's summer. Bedtime? What's that? We're not doing that.
Just more time you can spend in the team store.
100%. Yeah, buying them more things. We're just going to be sitting at Maryland Yards drinking IPAs until 10 o'clock. That's the way it's going to go. All right. When we come back in, we're going to catch up with Buck Showalter. Today's show is brought to you by County Sports Zone, countysports.zone all summer long. Latest news related to high school sports, coaching changes, things like that. You'll be able to find it there. Plus, they'll start getting you ready for high school football season. Countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer. BuyAToyota.com. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Drizel with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, we had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his schedule, but we'll always make the time for our friend Buck Showalter here on GCR. I promise that's what we're doing. Always a pleasure to welcome in our next guest, of course. You see him now on MLB Network, former manager of the Baltimore Orioles, and our friend Mr. Buck Showalter, who is with us once again on GCR. Buck, always great to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Glenn, how you doing? Down here in Texas, everybody talks about the heat of summer. Are there any places more hotter for about 3 weeks than that Inner Harbor, Baltimore?
So it's unreal, Buck. I've taken the boy. I got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old son. I'm taking them tonight, and it's a 7 o'clock game. And it's all I can think about is like they're going to be miserable. Like it's going to be hell. And then
what I want to do? I told my wife the other day, I want to buy a ticket. I want to sit in the upper deck in left field when they don't have a big crowd and just sit up there by myself and then take it in. Then I got to thinking, I said, well, I better check the weather first. If it's one of those summer days, Rick Dempsey used to talk about it. It's the hottest place he's ever caught for about 3 weeks.
Those Sunday afternoon games when you are sitting in the sun, and you don't even think about it when you buy the tickets, right? You're just like, I'm going to go to the game. and then you realize you're sitting on the side with no shade, and
the air doesn't move. The air does not move.
Not at all.
And but you know, it's what's that country music song? Old men sit around and talk about the weather, and old women sit around and talk about old men. Hey, it's been hot in the summer for a long time, Glenn.
That's a good point. Hey, what's a goo-goo cluster?
Oh, come on, man! That's the famous Nashville candy. It looks like a turtle. It's got like nuts and caramel and chocolate. It's a big thing in Tennessee. My wife turned me on to them. I can't eat them much because they're. Have you had one?
No, I don't think I've ever had one. Like I saw a buddy of mine told me you were talking about them on MLB Network, and he was trying to explain it to me, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever had one of these in my life.
It's got. Think of remember the Reggie Jackson thing?
Yeah, the Reggie bar.
Yeah, it's similar to that, except it's a staple in Tennessee, and I don't know, Standard Sugar Candy Company, something like that. But they used to give them when I played in the minor league. That was a big deal. If you were player of the game, you got a box of goo-goo clusters.
What was the go-to for you during games? Like, were you seeds? What was the play during games?
Yeah, I look at these guys now. They eat 4 or 5 times a day. They come to the ballpark. They eat a lunch. Then they eat a pre-BP meal. Then they eat a post-BP meal. During the game, they get a snack. Then the post-game. I mean, my God, I grew up. My dad believed in me playing on a light stomach. I would get a piece of dry toast, unsweetened tea, maybe half a baked potato, and maybe a flank steak if we could afford it. And you played on a light stomach. People they can't go. If you met like getting on a flight. Oh, God, I can't be on the plane without something to eat for a whole hour. Really? Anyway, it's the world we grew up in. It's like we got to constantly. So you asked me my go-to during a meal. I've had some sunflower seeds now and then, but I always felt bad about the groundskeeper because someone's got to pick those seed shells up.
That's true. I can't remember. Were you a gum chewer?
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit, yeah. I won't tell many people this, but I had a little ritual late in the game if we had a lead that I would go through and seemed to work out pretty good.
Yeah, and you're not, and I can't get you. You're taking that one to your deathbed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Maybe a book one day, but the book they want me to write, I would throw too many people under the bus, so I'm not going to write it.
Buck, I am. It's so funny because like the Orioles and Yankees look like they could both win 113 games this season. It's nuts, right?
You know what I looked at the other day, Glenn? There were only like 9 teams over 500 in baseball.
Yeah,
at one point,
like all of the NL wildcard race is like teams that are under 500 right now.
Yeah.
So,
but who knows?
So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And what you just said there, because like Orioles fans are like frustrated. The Orioles are really good. They keep looking up, and the Yankees keep winning too. What you saw last year. Is there any argument that you're better off not winning the division at this point? I'm not trying to suggest that you don't try to. I want to make that abundantly clear.
Oh, you can make a case for it. It's just the game more than ever is just get a couple of hot starting pitchers and a couple guys in the pen that are peaking at the right time. It's all about and having a mentality of maybe the little engine that could. The Yankees. Last year were really, really good for a long time, and then it kind of fell apart. But there's not really many secrets. Both those two teams are pitching so well. I mean, you look at the league leaders, and everybody's trying to have a perfect pitching staff. But, that's the key to those. If you look at the 5 or 6 teams at the top of, the winning percentage, they're usually very close to the leaders in pitching.
But is it crazy to say that for as much pitching as the Orioles have, and as much confidence as we have in – Bradish and Burns, of course, and even Grayson Rodriguez, that this is the nature. You want to win a World Series, you still might have to go get more. Like you might need to have, guys get hurt after July 30th. There's no second trade deadline anymore. Is it crazy to think that even though you're confident in what you have, that you got to live in a world where you have 7, 8 starting pitchers on your roster that you have confidence in if you want to win a World Series?
Well, one of the keys, and it seems like they've been following it, you got to know who you are. As an organization, you're not the Yankees, but you can do some things better than them. I know one of the big moves that we made was when Mr. Angelos agreed to start paying the 6-year free agents, the minor league free agents more money because we could out opportunity the Yankees, but we couldn't outpay AAA what if players. The the Steve Pearsons, some of the guys like Nate McLeod, different guys that we were able to bring in there once we got on a par with what they were paying minor league guys, which give you that depth. But now the Orioles are good enough to provide that depth from within the organization. But I'd be very careful about when someone says you got to do this. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything. Know who you are. A couple of additions here and there, but you got to be careful about backing yourself into something you feel like you've got to do, and you kind of lose sight of who you really are as an organization.
Buck, one of the things that I think about a lot with you is the reverence that you showed veteran players and guys that had proved things in this game, and the respect that you had for them. And I feel like the Craig Kimbrell conversation is fairly loud in Baltimore right now.
Tough.
Yeah, what do you do? This is a guy that's accomplished everything that you brought in to be a closer. He's looked great in moments, and he's looked quite human in other moments. Can you trust someone at this place in your career to be the guy that you try to win a World Series with?
The tough thing, Glenn, is there's an old adage, never let a star fall on you, and you try to. But there's also another one about trust the pedigree, but the question is, you got to ask yourself, is this just a trust in the pedigree and it'll happen, or is this the end of the road with him? Is the breaking ball and the fastball backing up to each other, and the command and things that go on? That's the question they have to ask themselves. Do you trust it enough? Because you better have a plan if you're wrong. If we're wrong, where are we going?
Right.
Keep in mind there's usually some heroes late in the season. You really only need two quality starters the way the playoffs are set up. That's one of the reasons why we ended up with Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling out in Arizona, because we felt like if we had those two guys, and if they just won their starts in the playoffs, you're world champions. So you can take one of those starters. I mean, what would Grayson Rodriguez look like coming out of the pen?
Filthy.
Yeah, anyway, there's a way around it. I'd be careful about just saying, gosh, we've got to do this. That's no, you don't. You don't have to do anything. Stay true to who you are.
Buck Showalter with us here on GCR. Buck, we're running low on guys that played in Baltimore for Buck Showalter that are still here in Baltimore. Cedric Mullins, of course, is one of those guys. And I kind of default back to what I just asked you about, showing respect and reverence to guys. And we're hoping that this week we're seeing Cedric start to turn the corner a little bit. But what does this look like? Can you just sort of take me through, a manager, a player, when you have someone that you know what they're capable of and they're just not doing it for a prolonged period of time? What does that look like? How do you handle that as a manager?
Well, Cedric's a great kid. I remember the first time we saw him, it was over in Pirate City, and I talked to Brian Graham, the farm director. I said, hey, can we just bring somebody over here that's plays with their hair on fire and's got some athletic skill? This is right at the very start. And he goes, yeah, I'll send you this kid, Cedric Mullins. Some people really kind of like him, but he's, this and that, whatever. He came over and had the game that you wouldn't believe. I brought him in about the fifth inning, and I said, Brian, this kid can play.
Mm-hmm.
And he just had a nice way about him. But you pull for guys like him. But you always say when they're struggling a little bit, what's changed? What's different? There's not that safety net that they've got nobody else. Well, they do have somebody else. And first of all, Glenn, let's make sure we keep in mind, a lot of people would love to have the Orioles problem.
Oh, no doubt, right?
I mean, if Cedric Mullins is their biggest issue, I'd be careful about counting him out. He's a kid that very quietly, and I haven't been around him in a long time. I think the last time I looked, there were 11 guys on that 40-man roster that were there when I left. So I do keep an eye on them. Austin Hayes, some of those kids. Grayson, we drafted him the last year. I think as we get away from him, you realize what a good job Dan Duquette's scouting department did towards the end there. They've got some really good Mountcastle. There's some good players there. Dylan Tate came in that trade. So did a couple of the other kids. But they made some good moves in the meantime.
Buck, I bring it up, and I feel like it's funny because you're 100% right. Like, all of this conversation is qualified. The Orioles are incredibly good. Like, they're an unbelievably good team. They've separated themselves.
And fun. It's fun.
No doubt. No question about it. I feel like the conversations we're now having are about, what's the difference in being a really good team and being a team that can win a World Series? And that's like the context by which we're having the conversation. And you probably know better than anybody, like, the difficulty of it. Being as close as you were a few times, do you get the sense for whether or not, like, there is a formula, a sauce to do this, you can win a World Series? Or is it just, as you allude to, get in and the right things happen, and now you're a World Series winner?
Well, it's you're rolling the dice in October. I've said before, there's really 4 times you manage. You manage spring training differently. You manage a regular season differently. You manage September baseball with the call-ups differently, and the postseason's different. There's just a sense of urgency that changes with all of them. But sometimes things happen. You go, wow, I thought I really had this figured out and had it in control. And the baseball guys, remember in 2014, we were doing, we didn't have Manny, we didn't have Chris, I think.
Yeah.
But we still had the fill-ins, and we had it going on. And we go to Kansas City. I mean, their base hits are hitting the bags and going up in the air. Balls are hitting the rubber. Their ball's landing on the line. Ours is half an inch off. Their home runs are scraping a foul pole. We're barely. And finally, about the third game, I looked around and said, the baseball gods are just really mean right now. I mean, we couldn't. I mean, everything they did was coming up, on the 50-50. They were winning all of them. So just get there. And sometimes you want to kind of be under the radar. I think when you're front and center and the whole world is saluting you about you're the greatest ever, sometimes that's a little, that can be a little intimidating. I did a thing with MLB this year about the weight of expectations. The first time you're not the little engine that could, and now all of a sudden you're expected to be good. That's why I think the Orioles have turned a corner, and the fans are going to have a lot of fun for a long time because they have met those weight of expectations, and they're still doing well. And there's a lot of teams, if you look around baseball, everybody thought we're going to go to this next level. It's like the guy that hits 10 home runs and you think he's going to hit 15 the next year and 20 the next year and 25 the next year, and it doesn't happen. You seek your level, and the sport plays so many games that you're always going to have your strengths and weaknesses show up.
If I could give you, if I could make a checklist, you can have, you referenced, 2 starting pitchers. If I gave you a checklist for, these are the 4 things that I can have, I know I have about a team, just generically, right? Like, a guy that hits 50 home runs. If there were 3 or 4 things that generically you'd want to have about a team going into the playoffs, what would those things be?
Oh, I have to give that some thought. That's pretty broad. I want the defensive core to be consistent, and I want runs to matter late in the game. Nothing kind of weighs on the morale of the team. We had Jim Johnson there. We had Zach Britton. We had Edwin Diaz with the Mets. I mean, we had people that could make runs matter. In other words, that when players aren't constantly going, how much is enough to give us that window if someone has a hiccup? And the 9th inning's different. You can't just take somebody from the 7th or 8th inning and stick them back there. But I think the consistency of making runs matter. It takes, that was what's so great about Mariano Rivera for a year, other than just success, was that there was no stress in his outings. It was 10 or 11 pitches. It was throwing strikes, no walks. He didn't let the ball leave the ballpark. He filled his position, and he held runners on whenever they would get a broken bat single. And there was no stress in his outings. And these top step Stanhouse, Earl Weaver, half pack of cigarettes to get through the 9th inning, it wears on a team. You said 3 things. I'd have to think about it. I just think an intelligent club that doesn't have ups and downs and knows who they are. I think that usually plays well, but I wouldn't underestimate catching the baseball. It plays in the postseason.
So I got to ask you about, it's funny. Buck Showalter, by the way, is here on GCR, if you weren't already aware. So we keep talking constantly about this team and everything this team has done. The other thing that we have been talking about a lot this year has been balls and strikes, Buck. And I am sure that you're going to remind me that it's a hell of a difficult job, and I know that's true. But it really does feel like we're almost reaching a breaking point, and that there's going to be something that happens. I just wonder what... Okay, well, we're reaching a breaking point because this box is on TV, which is not very accurate, by the way. Everybody should know that's not purely what is happening, okay? And they found out in AAA, this is interesting, that as the hole for your back foot gets worn down during the game, you have a little different strike zone. It doesn't pick. It's interesting that there's a lot of kinks they're trying to work out on this thing. It's coming. I think you're going to have a challenge system.
it's going to start out, and you're going to find out very quickly which of your player. I think it's going to be the catcher, the pitcher, and maybe the hitter, of which one you can trust and not trust.
You give them the
I
chance.
wish sometimes these guys slide into second and they point over the dugout like, check it. The manager would like to say, no, you know what? No kidding. Yeah. And every time you're wrong, you have to hit the next time with one strike on you or something. It's very aggravating for coaches and managers to have these guys like, we're not looking or paying any attention to it. It's funny, but it's coming. And I said the other night on the air, I was doing the Braves game, or I don't know what it was, but there was a guy, Quinn Walcott, who I think led all of baseball in accuracy of ball strikes last year, and he's about 5th this year. I mean, it's a skill, Glenn. It's a talent to be that accurate. 94 something or 95 he was last year. And I think they're going to end up with a challenge system. And, if you're wrong, you're going to lose some things. There's parts of it I'm wondering where it's going to end up. But I don't think you're going to ever see a purely mechanical strike zone for a while anyway. They're going to see if the challenge system works well. And most people I talk to in AAA like it. They like it. And it's pretty quick, and I think it actually has a little bit of a fan entertainment factor because they show it up on the board as they're looking at it. What do you think?
See, Buck, I am a tennis player. Or I was a tennis player. I hardly.
My wife says it makes the same argument. My wife makes the same argument.
And Buck, it's so easy. It's the easiest thing in the world. Everybody accepts it. It's fact. That's the way it is. It gets rid of. I'm sure John McEnroe would have still found something to yell about because that's who he is, but you just don't have the same it's not. You just go play tennis. Like, you get rid of that part of the game. And I remember you saying something once, though. Didn't you tell us once that you kind of missed arguing with umpires a little bit?
They've taken that out of play. They've taken that out of play. The only thing that would get me the last 3 or 4 years is attitude. Somebody sniping you or saying something to a young player. I hate bullying or hazing young players that come up, and they've eliminated a lot of that. And it's attitude that used to put me over the top because the ball strike, the out safe, you usually get right with replay, and sometimes they've just kind of taken it out of there and I think everybody I think the fans miss that a little bit too, and the umpires used to almost. I don't want to say play along with it, but understood that they were part of the entertainment package too.
I almost wonder if Earl Weaver would have been as great of a manager if that part of the game wasn't part of it.
Good question.
Right?
Good question.
Did he need that edge in order to be that type of? Earl was a pleasant guy, right?
Was he doing post-game interviews with Masson after every game and before every game?
No,
I don't think so.
Lord,
he wouldn't have. That wouldn't have gone well.
He did radio, and there's some famous, like he would do radio pregame, and there are some famous clips of Earl from that. But
I got a couple of those that they promised me they'd never air.
Oh man, I would love that. We got to track it down somehow. I'm going to call over.
Oh no. What's funny is we used to call it the interrogation pregame. With when I was with the Rangers, Eric Nadell was really good, and I said, "Eric, is this a pregame show or an interrogation?"
Get after you that way. Okay, I promise this will be it for this time, Buck. I
got to know. You talk about rule changes. I want to hear other ones. I like the idea of 2 bags at first base. They did it in the SEC tournament.
I love that.
Yeah,
why do we put ourselves through this?
Well, one is you take that lane out of play and all the stuff going down there that they still haven't really corrected, and you take away injury factor with the first baseman. It actually makes it easier to umpire because I would make the bags a little bit softer, more like a bag instead of a hard plastic that people slip off of. And these guys that come off the base 1/4 of an inch barely because somebody kind of pushed them. Yeah, I don't think that's not the intent of the rule.
Hate that. Oh, we are in complete agreement about that, Buck. Hate that. Hold the tag on and maybe you can kind of force them off a little bit and stealing out that way, that sucks. That's dreadful.
I've become a Maverick fan here. I watched a little bit of them last night. They're not doing too well, but I thought about the Baltimore Bullets and Earl Monroe. Where did they play at?
They played at the arena, the same arena that sits here to this day that they finally renovated a couple years ago to at least make it, passable. They played in that building.
Well, they never could have got away with the nickname in today's world.
They certainly couldn't have. That's why they were still the Washington Bullets. That's why they changed into the Wizards, and that's probably a dumber name.
Some of the problems that Washington's having, would have been appropriate. Okay, I'll stop.
I don't even remember what I wanted to finish with. This is why I love talking to you, Buck. Oh, all right. I'll finish with this. I have talked a lot about the decisions and the power that a manager has these days, and it's interesting to me. I think you and I have spoken before. I'm a Brandon Hyde guy. I really think that the best thing that a manager – and I know you've said that a few times. I think the best thing a manager does anymore is the relationships with the players and how that impacts. And it feels like anymore the data sort of determines so many of the old school decisions that we relate to a manager. So I wanted to run that by you just generically, the job of a manager and what the most important thing in 2024 is for a manager to do, considering we know how many of these decisions are just the organization top down says, hey, here's what we believe in, this is what we're doing, this is what we want you to do in certain spots.
Well, they define it pretty clearly. I think the best organizations kind of blend both sides of the spectrum, so to speak. The things that you only know from being around these guys every day in a locker room and spring training, sometimes 15 hours a day, 7 days in a row. I mean, and having respect for, the yes, but answers. Yes, that's true, but. And I think the morale of everybody, like making sure that everybody feels comfortable bringing what they bring, whether it's from an analytical sabermetric standpoint or whether it's from just a human being heartbeat situation where you got to take everything in, make sure everybody feels comfortable walking in your locker and that you're not just putting a hand up to certain types of information. You want to be open to and you're responsible for creating that environment. And Brandon, I like the new manager with the Mets. I think he does a good job with it too. But you do have a little bit of door opener with so many young players. But sooner or later they kind of figure out that you can be a ship passing the night. They can do without managers and coaches, but they can't do without players. But I think the one thing you really have to be responsible for in today's game is when the game gets off script. In other words, the teleprompter breaks. You got all these plans. This guy's going to pitch this inning. This guy can only pitch this, and this starter. And all of a sudden, the starter doesn't go but 1 or 2 innings. The game's off script. It's off. The teleprompter's broke. All of a sudden, somebody that normally would have done this can't do this. Things happen in the game. Somebody gets hurt. Has to come out of the game. That requires a manager having a feel and a touch and understanding of sometimes you may not put your best foot forward so that you can be consistent over the course of the next 2 weeks. So just understand the ebb and flow of a season and thinking about the long game and the short game.
Buck Showalter, you're the best, my friend. Always appreciate you. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
All right, Glenn. Thanks for having me. Tell everybody in Baltimore hello. Bye-bye.
It's Buck Showalter, and I would do that twice a day if that was possible because I could talk baseball with Buck eternally. Appreciate it. Take the time for us. I don't even like asking the question about the division thing that we talked about at the start of that. I don't even like asking that question because it sounds like the people I'm saying is, do you just not try to win the division? No. That's not the thought process even remotely. Imagine if you're like, hey, next week against the Yankees, maybe we, I don't know, like just take 2 of those games off. Just don't even try. Make it more likely that we don't win the division. It's not what I'm talking about. It's just if the Yankees keep this up, did we get the sense from what happened last year that might not be the worst thing? Now, to pretend like, hey, be the wild card team, that's the best case scenario. Remember, you still have to win a 3-game series. And depending on who you're facing in that 3-game series, it could be a team that has 3 really good starting pitchers. I was trying to think if the MLB playoffs started today. What would the bracket look like today?
I think the Orioles have the Royals, I want to say.
Is that who it would be?
If they're
it was the other day anyway, so we'll just go with that. The Orioles would have the Royals
because they'd be the 4-5, I guess. Is that what that would be?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct. That would be the 4-5
wild cards.
So you look at the Royals and say, well, Seth Lugo's great, right? Like he's been great this season, At times, Cole Reagans is really good. You don't look at the Royals and be like, you're not, like, fearful of. So I'll give you an example. If somehow the Twins, I actually haven't looked. How Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan on paper are, like, a hell of a 1-2.
Mm-hmm. They've had moments where they've gotten, like, hit around, but they've, for the most part,
yeah, that's the weird part. But, like, imagine they're both the best versions of themselves going into the playoffs. And all of a sudden, the Twins come to Baltimore, and on 2 days, Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan just pitched utterly lights out, and now your playoffs ended in 2 days. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying don't try to win the AL East. I'm not there. I just wonder if, as much as we might lament, should the Yankees continue to be this torrid throughout the course of the season, if ultimately we get to the end of the year and we say to ourselves, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. That's the question that I'm asking. All right, hour number 1 of today's show is in the books. In just a second, we're going to preview the Philadelphia Phillies. Hour number 2 is brought to you by the print issue of Press Box. And this is it. This is it. Last weekend that this print issue with Grayson Rodriguez is on the cover. Come Monday, there'll be a new print issue of Press Box. Come Monday, Governor Wes Moore on the cover. All right, that's probably not. But yes, come Monday, new print issue of Press Box. Hits stands. And it does indeed feature Governor Wes Moore on the cover talking about the relevant sports topics for his administration, stadium leases, future of horse racing, things along those lines. Plus, talk about his own athletics career and playing football at Johns Hopkins and how that shaped him for being the governor. So you can go pick up that print issue of Press Box starting on Monday. Get this one before it's gone. Also, the new issue is our annual travel issue, which gives you sports tourism suggestions that you and your family can take advantage of throughout the course of the summer. All that coming Monday. Read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Pick it up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Before that, and of course, weather permitting this evening, Orioles slated to open a big-time 3-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. 1983 World Series rematch, perhaps 2024 World Series preview. Joining us now to preview that, he, of course, former MLB catcher, analyst for the Phillies on NBC Sports Philadelphia. He is Ben Davis, and he is with us now here on GCR. Ben, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
My pleasure, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
And this seems like it's everything that you could possibly ask for in a baseball series in June, right? But like this is the good stuff. I know that every single one of the 162 matters exactly the same, but it feels like this weekend means a little bit more.
It does. It does feel like that. You have two very, very good ball clubs. You have really a veteran-laden ball club in the Phillies, and you have a younger ball club with the Orioles, but guys that know how to play the game. They play it the right way. They have great starting pitching. They have great relief. And they have some guys that hit the ball out of the ballpark. So it should be a great series. On paper, it looks like it's going to be, like you said, a possible World Series preview. So we'll see what happens starting tonight down in Camden Yards.
So we know the Phillies are outstanding. And I want to make sure when I ask this question, I'm not trying to pretend like I don't know that. The Phillies are unbelievable. A lot has been made about their relative, as far as the strength of schedule is concerned this season, that they haven't had to face the most daunting schedule to this point. Where is the line, Ben, between the Phillies we know are extraordinarily good but yet they could maybe use this sort of measuring stick because they haven't maybe played as many teams like this to start the season?
Yeah, like I've told everyone this year, you have to play who's on your schedule. And we had a club that came into town here, and a lot was said about they haven't played anybody. I said, what do you want them to do? Just say, no, we're not playing this ball club. We're going to go out to L.A. and play the Dodgers, or we're going to go up to New York and play the Yankees. You have to play who's on your schedule. And they've done a great job of beating who's on their schedule. There's series wins, there's sweeps. They've done everything really in their power to just secure the best winning percentage in baseball. And
excuse me. It's just something that, it'll be a great litmus test for them this weekend, going up against the Orioles. As I said, those have a great ball club. They have they've really put themselves, I think, in a great position for years to come with how they've drafted, with how they've developed, and these guys are going to be around for a long time.
So the pitching obviously sort of leads the conversation. The three starters, everybody knew about Aaron Nola. Obviously, we all knew about Zach Wheeler. And it's not like we didn't know about Ranger Suarez, but I don't think we knew this Ranger Suarez. What is different? What has changed? How is Ranger Suarez pitching to a 1.81 ERA and 0.85 WHIP?
He just really believes in himself, and his give-a-you-know-what factor is at 0. This is a guy, it almost looks like a devil-may-care attitude out on the mound, but he's a fierce competitor. He believes in his stuff, and he basically is putting it on the hitter to beat him. He believes in what he has. He's, you know what, here it is, hit it. I trust in my late movement. I trust in what sign the catcher's putting down. I believe in myself. I believe my abilities. I believe that my late movement's going to stay off of barrels. But if you get the best of me, so be it. I'm going to go get the next guy. That's the way he is. He's a lot similar to a guy I used to play with in Chicago, and Mark Burley. He just gets it and he throws it. He believes in his stuff, and he's a guy that he's always been that he's always had that attitude. But I think this year he's just taken it to a different level. He came into camp in better shape. He's had some issues in spring training the last couple of years with his visa, with some injuries, and he wasn't able to get off to a good start. Well, this year he came into camp ready, poised and ready to go, and I think it's really showed in his performance.
Boy, the results, there's no denying it. Do the Phillies have a fifth starter right now? Is Taijuan Walker, who we're going to see tomorrow night, is Taijuan Walker capable of solidifying that?
That's a great question. Right now, he's going to get the ball every fifth day, but I think that the Phillies definitely have somebody that's capable of taking that ball in Spencer Turnbull, who's been coming out of the bullpen. He started the year as the fifth starter. He did a phenomenal job. He just hasn't been able to accumulate any innings with the way the starters have been going and with some of the relief pitchers that the Phillies have. He's more of a long-term, long-inning guy. But I think right now Taijuan is, after this year, they still owe him $36 million, and two years left on that deal. So I know that shouldn't be a factor, but I think it is a factor in whether or not he pitches. He's a guy that has to pitch at contact because he doesn't have overpowering stuff. The fastball, the velocity's down. The splitter, he's not throwing as much. So his last outing was decent against the Mets in London. So maybe that's something he can build off of.
We're chatting with Ben Davis, Phillies Color Analyst, NBC Sports Philadelphia. He's with us here on GCR. Ben, look, the offense is very good, and we all know that. Again, we know the knowns in the Phillies lineup. But is there a world in which perhaps the offense still isn't exactly maybe where the Phillies want it, just particularly in terms of batting average, on base percentage? That there are guys that probably could still be better than they've been so far this season.
Without a doubt, and I think they'll be the first ones to tell you that. The injury bug has gotten the Phillies in recent weeks, recent months. Brandon Marsh is made a rehab start last night in Double-A in Reading. We obviously know that Trey Turner's been out for a long time now with his hamstring. Fortunately, there's been some other guys that step up, but I think for offensively, there's some guys that could get going a little bit more. Nick Castellanos is a guy that's obviously needs to get it going. He's been a little bit better over the last couple weeks, but they need him to get going. Obviously, JT's on the shelf now with his knee, with his meniscus.
Yep.
But Kyle Schwarber's done a very good job at the top. The average is up, and we all know what he does in June. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him knock a few out down there in Camden Yards. But I think too, ultimately the offense from the outfield standpoint has been lacking. And I think it's something that's something that Dave Dombrowski and the front office can maybe remedy with a signing or a trade.
Yeah.
So, but the offense in the outfield has really been lackluster, for lack of a better term. There's just hasn't been a whole lot of production there. So I think to a man, I think they can all three of those guys in the outfield can be a bit better. and get that average up.
So you're reading ahead a little bit because that's where I was going to go next. What do you think is the story for the Phillies as we move towards July 30th?
Well, I would never turn down a bullpen arm.
Yep.
I think that's something that, even if, I know you had mentioned Taijuan Walker, maybe they don't think the answer is within the organization. Maybe they go out and get one of those fifth starters if Taijuan's really not, handling that fifth spot role. I think maybe, I know there's a lot of rumors about Luis Robert coming here from Chicago with the White Sox.
Yep.
I'm sure that would take a lot of, the Phillies do have some good prospects at the lower levels, but I don't know if they're willing to part with one of those guys so soon just to get someone in here. But I think that would be a great addition, offensively for the Phillies if they could acquire him.
So you bring up the bullpen, and that's where we got to have a conversation about what's going on here in Baltimore, Ben, because it's not like Craig Kimbrell's been bad as the Orioles closer. He's certainly had some very bad moments, but then he's looked brilliant in other times. Knowing you guys just rode this ride, what were you thinking when you saw that the Orioles decided to go with Craig Kimbrell this season? And how confident would you be if you were in Baltimore about a team's ability to win a World Series with Craig Kimbrell as their specific ninth inning guy?
Yeah, I saw that number, $13 million for 1 year. I was kind of jumped out at me, but he's a hard worker. He's a great mentor for the younger guys out in that bullpen. I think he just ran out of gas last year, to be honest with you, Glenn. He got to a point where the fastball didn't have that jump on it. The curveball was just kind of rolling up there. And I think it was out of fatigue. I mean, they used him a lot last year. They rode him a lot last year, and he was very good. I mean, obviously he was an all-star and got a save in the all-star game last year. But I think, I think he can be that guy. It's just, the years have added up for him, and I think if they can keep him a little bit fresher, he might be a little bit better for the Orioles. But, he's going to have his good days and bad days. You just hope the bad days are kept at a minimum. But if he does have that good jump and he stays out of the middle of the plate with the curveball, he can have success. But ultimately, he's the guy that he wants the ball in the ninth inning. That's for sure. I'll never put that past him. But if the Orioles can keep him fresh, I think he'll still be very valuable closer for those.
It's funny because I hear everything you're saying, and I think that I have felt like they just need more leverage arms, right? Like that they need more guys they can turn to in those spots, and perhaps one of them to be their workhorse closer. I still think that Craig Kimbrell is a very valuable leverage arm. I just wonder about, hey, you get to the playoffs, you need a guy to go in 3 times in 4 games. I don't know how much you're trusting Craig Kimbrell to be that guy at this point.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. If the fresher they can keep him, the better off they're going to be. That's what makes the Phillies bullpen so versatile in the fact that Rob Thompson has a bunch of guys that can close. It doesn't have to necessarily mean it's the ninth inning. He can have Matt Strahm come in the 6th or 7th inning and put out a fire. That guy's been just lights out. I mean, It's been lights out. He's got Jose Alvarado. He's got Jeff Hoffman, righty-lefty matchups, although both those guys are good versus righties and both lefties. But that's what these guys, the workload hasn't been there really because the starters have been going so deep. But also that Rob Thompson does have that versatility. So you know what? You got 2 out of the 3 guys in the ninth inning that are left-handed. Maybe I'll go to Alvarado, or 2 or 3 guys are coming up that are all righties. I'm going to Hoffman. He has that versatility. That's what makes the bullpen so deep for the Phils.
All right. Do you have any memories at all of running around with the Bowie Bay Sox a few years back, Ben?
I do. I have lots of memories of, just waking up early. Our kids were very, very young at the time, and I just remember getting up early and being going to the ballpark was like everything for me. It was my retreat, if you will. But yeah, it was. I had a great time in that organization. Knew a lot of great folks, and still stay in touch with one man in particular, Don Werner, who was my roving catching instructor in San Diego, and then he had the job in Baltimore for a long time. So he's a guy that I still stay in touch with, and we still chat about the O's and this and that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun memories about being with the organization.
I was trying to do the math. Did you bump into Matt Wieters at all in the short time you were in the organization?
I did. I did. I was in camp with them, and it's wild because I was in camp with Matty, and then I was in camp. I believe that Jake Arrieta was in camp,
Wow.
and I think he had just signed.
Wow.
Going back back in the day, and then Adam Jones,
Yep.
who was behind me in Seattle, and then all of a sudden we end up in camp together with the Orioles, and obviously he went on to just a very prolific career, and with Baltimore and everything that he did down there. So yeah, it's crazy how things overlap, and it's wild, but great times for sure.
That was a 2008 year was the year things started to turn as you bring up the Adam Jones trade. Sort of the moment that everything changed for the Orioles organization because that
one of the best trades of all time.
No doubt about that.
Period.
No
of all
doubt
time
about it. Eric Bedard, who he took himself out of the game after 5 innings, would just say, "I'm good. I'm good, guys. We'll see." Turned it into a cornerstone player. Pretty remarkable. Ben, really appreciate you, man. Should be a great weekend here in Baltimore. Hopefully the weather will hold up tonight. Thank you for spending the time with us this morning, man.
My pleasure, Glenn. Enjoy the series. I sold out all 3 games from what I gather, so it'll be fun.
Going to be awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Ben.
All right. Have a good
Ben
one.
Davis, former MLB catcher. Appreciate him taking the time for us here on GCR as we get ready for Orioles Phillies. Again, everything was fine until Brian Powell let me know that the weather didn't look so great for tonight. It's fine if it was just me, right? Like if I was just going, I'll live with the kids.
It's a character building moment.
I hear you, but I just had to text the wife. I just say, hey, like make sure that you pack some rain gear for them. And it's a very complicated situation I got going on because I'm actually going over to an event today.
That's right.
With
Yes.
David Rubenstein.
Oh.
It doesn't involve me. I'm just there, right? Like I was just an invited guest.
You and
that's all.
David?
Yeah, no.
He invited you to lunch?
No. I'm going over. He's doing a thing with Living Classrooms, who I've always enjoyed working with over the years. Brian Billick was a big supporter of Living Classrooms, and in a different place in my career, when I was at another radio station that doesn't exist anymore, Brian was involved and would always want us to be involved in Living Classrooms, so I like them a great deal. And they're doing an event today with David Rubenstein, and I was invited. I had to bring a button-down shirt in the car. Got to bolt out of here. Try to hit the gym because I didn't get to go to the gym yesterday because I was at Brooks and Dunn last night at Merriweather.
How was that?
It was good. It was, in fact, a lot of fun. It was really unfortunate, and I didn't know this. So Ronnie Dunn, who's 71 years old, let me start with that. So it's, out there getting it done doing work, had to leave the stage and get a cortisone shot in the middle of the set. And at that point, they cut the set short. Like, he came back, but they only played. So, like, look, man, I'm not a huge Brooks and Dunn fan. This one was for my wife, but, like, I'll sing along to a bop when it's, like, I don't care what it is. I'll sing along. Boot, Scoot, and Boogie's a bop. They did that one, but their other big bop is My Maria, and they didn't play it. And I was really, like, kind of bummed about that because Ronnie Dunn had to go get a cortisone shot and wasn't really able to finish the set. But it was still a fun night. Mrs. Clark had a great time. Big pop. Everybody's happy. God bless. Just that part was the only bummer. Like, everything was humming along, and then at one point he just walks off the stage. And Kix Brooks is just like,
So they announced he was getting
hang on, guys. So they're vamping. They're like they're padding as much as they possibly can.
How we doing?
It's like me waiting for Griffin to try to figure out how to play the commercial ahead of. All right, then. So, and like you can just tell that like at this point in their lives, they're 70 years old.
Yeah.
Like they're not just like, let's pivot to some other song that wasn't on the set list tonight that I can sing while we wait to figure out what's going on with Ronnie. Like, it's just panic. It's just, what do we do here? It was a very uncomfortable situation, but God bless them. They put on a show. We did for what we got. We had a very good time. And also, it's a summer night at Merriweather where it's hard to beat those. But yeah, what was I saying? How did I get there? I was going from.
We were talking about
David Rubenstein. I'm doing that event. So then I got to have so this is what really complicates things. I have to have my father go pick my sons up at the pool.
Wait, you think he's capable?
No. He's fine. Well, and I reminded him that the tall ships were in town. So my father's going to take them down early this afternoon. And they're going to go see the boats, right? Like, and then we're meeting for dinner at 5:30. But like I gotta have her send rain gear with my dad, and then like there's just a lot of moving parts that you have to manage. I'm not, I'm no Buck Showalter, you know what I mean? Like I'm I'm just a guy that tries to go get it done, right? Like I'm a free swinger. The managing part, this is when as Buck pointed out, when things go off script. Like, I'm dealing with that today. Things have gone off script because of the weather forecast. That has impacted and altered my day. Hail would be a huge problem. What the hell are we going to do if it's hailing? What do you do with that? If I know anyone that can invite me up to, like, the club level, like, tonight, that would be lovely. If any of you have a box, if you got room for 2 old men and 2 kids. Hi.
2 old men?
Yeah, my father's an old man, too. 2 old men
you're
and
old?
2 kids. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So if you got room for us. Hi,
An older man and then a fella.
2 old men and 2 kids. That's what we are. That's what we are.
Or just the 2 kids, maybe. And then
yeah, if you want to just take the kids, the old man and I can figure it out for ourselves. If you just want to watch. Our friend Delegate Griffith has a box, but you have to. The problem is you have to have a ticket to get up to the club level.
Right.
You can't just go sneak into his box. Like, you have to have a ticket to get to the club level, and that's not where our tickets
they'll see,
are.
oh, Glenn Clark.
But that's a good point, right? Like, everybody knows me. It's funny you say that. My friends BJ and Chris Appel, who I grew up with, love those boys. Their grandfather, their late grandfather, was the steward or whatever.
Okay.
He was the guy for years that was at the door for the club level. So if we just wanted to sneak up to the club level sometimes, he'd just be like, come on up, come on up, I'll let you in. So we would go to games, even if I wasn't with them, like if it was me with my other idiot friends, I'd be like, watch this, and I'd take the escalator up, and then there'd be their grandfather, and he'd be like, oh, here's this knucklehead. A lot of knucklehead.
And he was right on every time.
100%. No question about it. Always correct. A lot of what are you knuckleheads doing? We just wanted to get out of the heat, if that was possible, And he'd be like, and then he'd have to go find empty. Like, he had to go look through not the actual boxes themselves, but in the sections where he had to go look and see where there were some empty seats, and he had to tell his buddy let them go sit down there.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
Miss that man.
Good.
That was a good man. It was a good man. I miss him. I could use him tonight. That would be helpful. All right. Hey, congratulations to all the fight fans. I know you're very excited. You got exactly the fight that you were looking for coming up later.
I mean, it's a great fight. I'm excited for the replacement fights, but that's the freaking problem is that these are now 2 week notice fights, and it's not fair to the fighters. It's not fair to the fans.
It's Prohaska and
Yuri Prohaska and Alex Pajeda, which should be a great. They fought. Was it last year? They fought recently, and Pajeda knocked out Yuri. And it was a good fight for as long as it lasted. But that's just kind of the way that Yuri fights. He fights very open and exposed, and against a guy like Alex Pajeda, that doesn't bode too well. So we'll see what happens. But I kind of expect a similar result to that. I think Alex should fare pretty well. But again, also, I mean, these guys are not in full camp, so we'll see. We'll see if that favors one guy to the other somehow.
What it definitely isn't is Conor McGregor.
It's definitely not Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
Definitely not Conor McGregor.
We come back in. We'll go over.
I'm very excited about the co-main as well.
What's the co-main?
Diego Lopes and Brian Ortega.
Sure.
Diego Lopes very good. Saw his UFC debut in Newark
last
year.
Look at you.
He's on a tear.
I bet he remembers
he was
too.
UFC, yeah, he
I bet he'd be like, "Oh, Griffin was there."
He's very very good. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. Just unfortunate that again it's just 2 weeks notice. So
that's what it is. That's what it is. All right, when we come back in, we'll go over this week and the rest of baseball. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hagerstown, Maryland. a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Friday edition of the program. Have not talked about what a huge bummer the both finals have proven to be. Just a massive
Maybe
bummer,
we should make the
man.
Panthers and the Celtics play each other.
That's exactly what we should do. Get them to see it. This sucks. I mean, this sucks. Jesus.
More time for baseball.
Tonight, Game 4 of the NBA Finals. That could be over. Tomorrow night, Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. And we could wake up Sunday morning with all of it over.
So should we just make it a best of 5, in the NBA?
Well, that would already be over.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, you said it was over.
Oh, I said it could be over.
Oh, now.
I'm saying
now,
it's for
now
intents
it's not
and
over.
purposes it's over. Like they might. Again, all I'm asking for in the NBA now is for there to be a Game 5 because we don't have baseball on Monday night. That's all I'm asking for. Like something to keep us company on Monday night because there's no Orioles game.
I mean, you can watch
the College World Series. Sure, that's going on, but we don't know.
You can watch Raw.
That's a great point. It'll be the big episode following Clash at the Castle.
Yeah.
You can't. Who's your pick? Damian Priest. It's a big one.
Is
Damian Priest versus
Chad Gable gonna get his
Damian
ass
Priest
kicked?
versus Drew McIntyre.
Ooh, I'm taking Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a shocking
Better
win.
be Drew McIntyre.
CM Punk might try to screw him over.
CM Punk better not be allowed
Been
to make the trip.
It's been a thorn and all right. Jeez, are you a big Drew McIntyre guy?
I mean,
I didn't know you were a big Drew McIntyre man.
I appreciate Drew McIntyre's work. Yeah.
Anyway, last night,
good body work.
Panthers go on the road in Edmonton. That's always the story, right? The series doesn't actually begin until the team wins on the road. Well, it began and ended.
Yes,
began and ended. Although there have been 3-0, it has happened in hockey before.
Right.
It's happened in hockey. It's happened in baseball. It's never happened in basketball that a team has come back from 3-0. That's where we are, both series sitting at 3-0. Just a huge, huge bummer for sports fans just looking for some company. Again, as we said before, feel worse for the fans in cities where the baseball is not good. Like right now, you're a White Sox fan. This sucks.
Oh, you got Caleb Williams.
Just looking for a nice distraction. Just looking for something that you could watch. Nope.
DJ Moore and nothing. You just talk about football.
Nothing. I'm not just talking about it on air. I'm just saying at night. Like I've said this before. I'm over. I will not watch when the baseball is bad. I refuse to. I will not do that to myself. There's just no thank you. Plus the boys is back now. Like got other things you can watch.
So I mean, so you might be rooting for.
But I like having
a night off on Monday. So
I
you
like
can catch
having
one of the boys and.
I would like to have.
Whatever else
I like having the
going
company.
on. I gotta catch up on Wrexham. So.
Well, it's only one episode. Oh, you are not
Yeah,
caught
not
up.
caught
Got
up
it.
at all.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
So maybe I guess I got time now since.
It just sucks.
Not
It's just there's nothing good about this for sports fans. It sucks. And like the Euro starting, but that's in the afternoon, so that's not going to help you at night. I guess when the Copa America starts, I think we're 2 weeks away from that. Like those matches will be at night. But yeah, I don't know. Bummer. All right, time for us to do this.
This week
In the rest of
baseball.
This week in the rest of baseball is brought to you by Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Tomorrow night, Tank Davis-Frank Martin. Baltimore natives return to the ring. You can spend a lot of money and order it on pay-per-view if you're so inclined, or you can take that money and put it towards a great night out at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Watch the fight inside Sports and Social on the giant media wall. Take advantage of all the great food and drink specials they have inside Sports and Social and an awesome electric atmosphere where everyone is living and dying on every moment during big events. And then maybe, spend some money playing games, trying to win money inside Live Casino and Hotel or over at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Bet on the fights. Win more money. You could come out on top. You could end up you order a pay-per-view, and you get food. It's going to cost you. You do this, you could end up making money. That seems to be better math to me. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Sports and Social, the best place to watch all the big events, including Tank Davis-Frank Martin tomorrow night.
Yankees and the Dodgers played last weekend. That was a very exciting series for baseball fans in general. I mean, it wasn't great since the Yankees took 2 of 3 against the Dodgers, but wait, didn't
No, they didn't. They took 1 out of 3.
That's right. They took 1 out of 3.
Dodgers.
Sorry.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, it was a long time ago. It was last
Very
week.
Confused.
It was just because they won the last game, so made me think they had done better. But it was this came from Sarah Lang's. It was the 3rd game in the live ball era, or so Friday night, the 1st game, because they went to extras, I believe, and it was still scoreless. It was where the top MLB's top 2 teams in OPS were scoreless through 10 innings, and that was the 3rd time that has ever happened. And the number 2 team won in the 11th inning all 3 times now. All 3 times now that this has happened. The number 2 team.
You're doing the thing again.
I know. Well, I wanted to talk about Dodgers and Yankees because that was exciting.
Also, yeah, go ahead.
Also on Friday night, this was probably the favorite bit from the weekend when Giancarlo Stanton was up with the bases loaded and he hit a very high foul or fly ball.
It was a pop up. Go ahead. All right.
And he lines one toward left center field. How far is Hernandez? He has the baseball shy of the warning track.
So yeah, if you're not watching, if you're not listening, you can't see just how comical the reaction to this ball was because it wasn't close. It was not close to being a home run.
And he lines one toward left center field.
The Yankees fans, they got excited.
They all lost. I mean, look, everybody does that. I don't want to. That happens everywhere. You hear the crack of the bat, and you're just like, it's a pop-up. Like, that's all it is. Everybody loses their minds. They all go nuts. It's not the case.
All right, trying to get my clips ready. So also over the weekend was the London series, which went pretty well. It was the Phillies and the Mets.
I mean, it went pretty well in what way?
I mean, it went off without a hitch.
What was going to happen?
They put
King Kong was going to attack the stadium? It's just such a weird. We all do this. I'm not calling you out specific. Everybody does this. It's like a verbal crutch. Like you don't know how to finish the sentence. So you say things like, "Well, and I think it went well."
Did you hear the final out from the
British call?
broadcast?
I did.
Yes,
It was good. You can play that. It was very good. And the argument that was made by many was, this is why a British announcer should call everything.
With the pressure on his shoulders, and Castellanos' bat explodes, and they're going to get the runner at home. They're going to get the double play to win the game. What an end! The shattered bat, the runner out at home plate, and the ball fired into the glove of the first baseman Pete Alonso, and the New York Mets somehow withstand the Phillies. Phillies rally, and they win Game 2 in London 6-5. 17 hits. What drama, what a game, what a finish.
Such an improbable
So,
finish.
you know who this
That
was?
swing by Castellanos was what we call a swinging bunt.
He's great.
Bat explodes.
Man, like,
the ball's just right out in front.
1,000%
They're able to
allow
get
him to do
the
more
runner at
things
home
because
and
he's
then get the double play.
And, I don't think it's – is it just the accent? Is it just the specific use of vocabulary? I don't know, but, man, I enjoy it just as much as everybody did.
I wanted to see if I could find his name, but yeah. So that was that ended up being, I guess, one of the top highlights. So good for the Mets getting a win over the Phillies.
The next one.
Next one.
We don't need to. They split a 2-game series. It ain't
White
worth
Sox,
this much.
The White Sox. I mean, they're bad. That's not news.
Right.
But they blew a couple of late leads this week out in Seattle. And it made for a very great moment. I'm not sure if you saw this, but so on Monday night they were winning 4-0, entering the bottom of the 8th inning. I may want to take this, but they were they were losing they're winning 4-0. All
right, we'll finish that thought about the White Sox, which is very important. In the meantime, I'll remind everybody. Every Monday, Stan, Ross, and Luke are talking baseball with you. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline if you miss it live. PressBoxOnline.com/video is how you can always see it every Monday. And so they'll be back in action this coming Monday, talking baseball. Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson. I believe Stan and Eric did not do, because Stan's away this weekend, so they did not do their Thursday show. But normally every Thursday, Stan and Eric are talking prospects with you. So every Monday, Stan, Ross, and Luke. Every Thursday except for this week, Stan and Eric Garfield talking prospects. And those shows live, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And if you miss them live, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Now back from getting his cortisone shot off the stage, here's Ronnie Dunn.
So after This Week in Baseball, we'll talk with Dan Rafael.
And Raphael. Is it Raphael?
It is Raphael.
It
is Raphael.
I ever knew that.
Dan Rafael. As we'll talk a little boxing in about 8 minutes.
All right.
But yeah, so the White Sox, I want to pull up the clip so that we can play it. But yes, they were up 4-0 in the 8th out in Seattle. And then they ended up blowing up. They let up 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and then that was the Cal Raleigh Grand Slam night as well. So they ended up losing 8-4, and it just made for a fantastic moment with Chuck Garfien and Ozzie Guillen back in the White Sox studio.
Ozzie is the best.
Oh yes,
he's the best.
And I just don't have it ready yet.
All right.
I got a lot of
well-oiled machine.
Thank you.
That's what they always call us over here. They say, you know why we tune into Glenn Clark Radio? Because of the high levels of production value that we get. Great stuff. Definitely not just two guys winging it. Not just
you don't get this anywhere
throwing at. You know what? That's a great point. Definitely not going to get this anywhere else.
It's late at night at the White Sox studio after they lose this game.
Okay.
You okay, buddy? I'm not. This White Sox season
Chuck crawling on the floor
is doing this to me. I'm crawling on the set. What is happening to this team?
You see this guy?
I can't even get to the chair.
Hey, you see this now?
Ozzie.
This what's this?
It's a cactus.
Okay, cactus. I'm gonna sit on it. That might hurt a little less than I just watched today's game.
It's not nearly as good as last week.
What did we just
They
experience?
were talking about the White Sox having a come to Jesus meeting.
I'm not.
And Ozzie, deadpan, was like, Jesus Christ? He never played baseball. What's he going to do? So good.
That would make it.
Ozzie Guillen, who a couple weeks ago was telling a story about he's sick of baseball players trying to be this healthy. He's like, no, go eat hamburger, drink beer. You can't pull fat. So that guy, I love Ozzie Guillen, man.
But
I'm all in.
I mean, I just love that he was like, yeah, I'll sit on this cactus. That'll be less painful than watching the White Sox.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
They also blew a lead last night too, but they did actually win in extras as Garrett Crochet looked like he was doing his best. He's doing his best Orioles application.
Well, 102 pitches. It just really it's fascinating.
13 strikeouts yesterday.
It's the Garrett Crochet conversation is fascinating, right? Because it is both the innings thing for this year and the value of you can acquire that guy to cushion the blow of losing Corbin Burns at the end of this year. And how do you measure those two things? Can you do it with your eye on the future, but thinking he can still help you? What Keith Law yesterday was like, I'm not worried about the innings limit. But can you count? Can you be confident that he is giving you his best into late October?
Yeah,
it's a tough thing.
And
it's a tough thing.
And yeah, does he coming out of the bullpen would I'd be excited. I'd be open. I think I mean it'd be impossible not to be excited about it if they.
Yeah,
if
I mean
they pull this off.
it's just it's not as it doesn't clean up quite as nicely as guys that have had multiple 200 inning seasons. Like Corbin Burns, no brainer. Garrett Crochet, just a bit more complicated. A little bit more of a complicated conversation.
It was. I had another stat on him. It was so 20 walks. So most strikeouts with fewer than 20 walks in their first 15 career starts. He is number 2 on that list with 116. Number 1 on the list would be 2014's Masahiro Tanaka.
Okay, sure.
Tanaka would be number 1 at 119. Crochet is number 2, 116, and then Steven Strasburg across 2010 and 2011 with 103. So that is fewer than 20 walks, most strikeouts in their first 15 career starts. So
pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
So he was going against the Mariners, and he did let up 1 home run. Crochet did, and that was 2. We did talk about this earlier in the week when Tyler Locklear made his debut. He also hit his first career home run yesterday, and I was going to play that real quick so we could see that.
Mm-hmm.
High drive, left field, has a chance, looking up, off the top, stays on the rail and goes over for a home run. The first big league homer for Tyler Locklear. The Mariners are on the board. It's 2-1 White Sox.
Love Tyler Locklear. Got into Tyler's family a little bit. Tyler, of course, was on with us when he got drafted. Very happy for them. Great moment. And trying to track him down. I know he's been inundated this week, but trying to track Tyler down.
Yes. So, and then speaking of other local guys, Jackson Merrill
Yeah,
also
walk-off,
made
right?
some pretty, so walk-off. He had 2 home runs, so it was a
Yep.
multi-homer game. And the stat on that one is that he is the youngest player to have a multi-homer game and have one of those home runs be a walk-off. 21 years old, 54 days old. 21 years, 54 days old. He is the youngest player all time with a multi-homer game, including a walk-off home run. That was Jackson Merrill on Wednesday, helping the Padres win. So yeah, local guys doing a lot of cool things at the big league level right now. And the only other thing I have from this week, in This Week in Baseball, was that the Twins yesterday debuted in yet another celebration. That it was a Prince-themed celebration.
Oh, now that I can get behind. I'm all in on that.
Did you see it?
I did not yet.
They had an inflatable guitar and just a purple hat, a purple jacket. I believe Carlos Correa was the first one to homer, and they debuted it on him. And it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. So they have
put it on
Prince
backwards
themes.
Though.
Maybe they.
I
Yeah, I see what you're
I don't
saying.
think he.
I know.
I don't think he understood that it was supposed to be a jacket.
They'll figure it out.
Awkward.
I'm sure.
Oh, apparently it was Prince Night.
Oh,
at the
okay.
ballpark, which is probably why they did it, not because it's a
Well, you
new.
have to continue to do it though.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
At least when they're in Minnesota.
Not opposed to it. All right, very good. That's This Week in the Rest of Baseball. Appreciate that from Griffin. Make sure you remind me of pronunciation. All right, we're gonna gotta do things right as they happen. We're doing it. So, we're going to switch gears, and we're going to talk some boxing here on GCR. Tank Davis, Frank Martin, tomorrow night in Vegas. First fight in over a year for Gervonta Tank Davis. And it's on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, Premier Boxing Champions. Getting back in the ring, trying to shake off the rust. It's a great card. In fact, it's not just Tank Davis. It's a great card all around. So, as we said before, you're going to want to watch it inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Great way to enjoy the fight, win some money, have a great time. Encourage you to reserve your table right now inside Sports and Social by going to the website, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, and then click on Sports and Social. You can reserve your table, or you can reserve a blue chip reclining chair just by stopping by the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Live Casino and Hotel. And that's where you'll be able to watch the fights tomorrow night. Gervonta Tank Davis-Frank Martin squaring off in Vegas. Now let's head out to Vegas and find out what we should know about this fight and this card in general, because as I said, it is a good card. Joining us now here on GCR, this man has been writing about boxing for a very long time, and he, of course, for years was at ESPN. Now, with Fight Freak Unite, it's a pleasure for us to welcome back in Dan Rafael, who is with us once again on GCR. Dan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you as always. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
My pleasure, Glenn. A pleasure to be on with you.
Dan, on paper, it seems to me like this fight is about getting Tank, and of course, you know, everybody here in Baltimore gets a little bit more invested on weekends like this. It seems like it's about getting Tank back in the ring, shaking off the rust of him not having fought in over a year. Are we being too dismissive of Frank Martin when we talk about it that way?
You want the long answer or the short answer?
Give me both.
Well, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
And the longer answer is you're absolutely being dismissive. Now, that's not to say that Gervonta Tank Davis should not rightfully be the favorite, and I think he'll win the fight. I think most people think he'll win the fight. But anybody that thinks Frank Martin is just like a speed bump in the road, and is just because maybe you never saw him or you never heard of him, he's not got the biggest profile, doesn't have the biggest personality, but he's a very good fighter. He was a good amateur. He's an accomplished pro to a certain level. He hasn't had the chance for the big fights, but this is his opportunity. But he's done everything right to get to this point. And if you take a look at the landscape of the lightweight division of the fighters that were available that could have potentially been in this match, who were willing, came for the right price, were available, were a fight that was relatively easy to make. It's all the things that go into making these kinds of events. Frank Martin was the perfect guy.
So in what way could he be? I guess I'll start twofold. One, are you concerned at all about the layoff for Tank Davis? And then two, what could be concerning about Frank Martin for Tank in this fight?
Well, I'm not concerned about the layoff because I'm not the one that has to get in the ring. That's the main
yeah, it's
thing.
not going to impact you. I get that.
But I listen. I mean, fighter layoffs. I mean, sometimes it does have an impact with certain fighters. Other times it doesn't. You know, in terms of it doesn't. You know, probably the most famous example where people were concerned about it. It was going to be like, oh my God, how can he possibly win? And I'm going to go back a number of years, even before I was covering boxing. But remember that one of the most famous fights of all time, you had Sugar Ray Leonard coming out of like a 4-year or so retirement to fight Marvin Hagler. And he was moving up in weight to fight the fearsome middleweight champion of the world. And people thought he was going to get destroyed, not only because of the size difference, because Ray hadn't fought for such a long time. Well, what happened? Ray went out there and, put on a brilliant performance and won the fight, won the middleweight title, one of the most famous fights in history. So that's the extreme example, obviously. Tank has been out for 14 months. But as I asked him about this just the other day when I spoke to him for an interview on Wednesday, and I asked him, I said, are you worried about having some rust or anything like that? And he says, look, I've been doing this my whole life. It's like, I'm paraphrasing, sort of like muscle memory. He's been training. It's not like he is going to get in the ring and hasn't been in a full training camp. He has been out of his jail sentence now for, quite a long time in terms of the month. He's got himself and looks in good physical condition. So I don't think for a fighter like Tank, who's still in his prime, he's only 29 years old and has been doing this for a long time anyway, I don't think that the time out of the ring is going to have too much of an impact on him at all. In terms of what to be worried about in terms of the abilities of Frank Martin, he's a little bigger than Tank is, but most of the opponents that he fights are a little taller than Tank. But He's a very skilled boxer. He's got good hand speed. He's got a very good IQ. He was an accomplished amateur. He's got a lot of confidence. I was saying this to somebody the other day when they asked me about it, and I said, I've been around a lot of Tank Davis fights, and other fighters also who are star power kind of fights. And even though the fighters talk a good game who their opponents, I'm confident I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you're not necessarily sure like they really believe it. When I've watched the quiet confidence of Frank Martin, I kind of really believe he's not talking a lot, but he's got something like that inner confidence where I think he really believes I can beat this guy, and that's important.
He is Dan Rafael. Again, Fight Freaks Unite is the Substack where you can check out all of his coverage, not just this fight, but obviously boxing in general. Dan, there's something special about this card, of course, because it's the 100th at MGM Grand Garden Arena. I remember there being some rumors about perhaps this fight going down in Houston, and I wonder if that was maybe the reason why they wanted to get it back in Vegas, is to get number 100. But the significance of that, I know there's a new building in Vegas, there's other places where people fight, but looking back on the history of this particular arena, this is a place where there's been a lot of boxing history that's gone down.
Listen, this is I'm sitting in the hotel, so right downstairs from where I am is that arena. To me, it's hallowed ground. I've been coming here for 25 years. It is filled with memories. As I said the other day, we were joking around with me and some of the other writers about it, and I said, if only the walls could talk. Because if you go and look at the list of the 100 fight cards that have taken place here, forget about all the undercard fights. I'm just talking about the main event fights, where obviously they're the biggest fights. There are so many historic bouts that have taken place in this building. You mentioned about a new building in town. That is the T-Mobile Arena, which is just a short walk from the MGM. It is also partially owned by the folks that own the MGM. Mm-hmm. And because it has a larger seating capacity, a lot of the bigger fights go there now because they can generate a little bit, not a little bit, but a lot more in terms of ticket sales and revenue, which is obviously the name of the game here in Las Vegas and in most businesses. But the MGM Grand is still a wonderful venue. It's still modern. It's still great sightlines for fans, and they still want to do fights there. So a fight like this, they probably could have put it at the T-Mobile and sold tickets, but it seems more appropriate for an arena that's made a slightly bit smaller. Like when Tank fought Ryan Garcia, that was a true mega fight last year, and that went to the bigger building. This is an excellent matchup, but maybe not quite at that level. And so the MGM Grand Garden Arena is the place to be. And also they have to deal with the different schedules because T-Mobile has lots of other things. They have pro sports with hockey and other kinds of activities, lots of concerts, etc. But the MGM Grand is, I think, to me, when I think of boxing in America, at least for my 25 years or so of covering boxing, it's the place for boxing.
Wow.
The amount of fights that have taken place here, you go down, Tank is just the most recent of the boxing stars to have major fights here. It started off, the first one, you kind of set the tone for the next 30 years. You had the incredible matchup between Julio Cesar Chavez and Frankie Randall, where Chavez goes in as a big favorite and as the champion, had never been knocked down, was 89-0, and Frankie Randall knocked him down and won the fight and upset him and won the title. That was the opening main event at this building. And through the years, 14 Mayweather main events, tons of Manny Pacquiao fights, including Mayweather against Pacquiao in the biggest, richest fight in the history of boxing. Oscar De La Hoya fights, Iron Mike Tyson in the big upset loss to Evander Holyfield, the bite fight that followed that famously when Evander got part of his ear bit off by Mike Tyson. Canelo Alvarez has fought here numerous times, won the undisputed championship here in 2021 by knocking out Caleb Plant. Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales finished their trilogy in this building, one of the great fights of all times, the fight of the year that year. There are so many superstars and so many mega events that I was looking at the list and it's just unbelievable. Pacquiao Marquez 4, culminating their 4-fight series with one of the most massive knockouts ever when Marquez knocked out Pacquiao. And like I like to say, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug, because that night that Manny Pacquiao got knocked out by Marquez, he was the bug. Right. But then you go back a few years before that, he knocked out Ricky Hatton massively in the second round, and that was him being the windshield. So the history is phenomenal. I have been privileged to cover. This will be my 56th event here of the 100,
wow.
And it's a privilege every single time.
I have not done nearly that. I was there for Mayweather De La Hoya once upon a time.
That's another big one.
That one was holy crap, right? Like the city shut down for that one.
I'll tell you. How about Floyd Mayweather against Ricky Hatton when they had like 30,000 British people converge on the city? Now remember, the arena only holds like 16,500, but 30,000 Brits came here without tickets just to. The lore of that fight, by the way, is that the MGM Grand at that time was the largest hotel in the country, and they ran out of beer because all the Brits drank it all week.
Awesome.
Literally,
awesome.
Ran out of beer.
So cool, man. So cool. Dan, the rest of this card, Gary Antoine Russell from D.C. is part of this card. There's a couple of title fights. What else stands out to you about this card?
Well, I'm excited to see Gary Antoine Russell back in action. He's a tremendous young fighter. I wish he was a little bit more active, but he's 17-0 with 17 knockouts. He's going for an interim title in the 140-pound division against a former champion, Alberto Puello, who is a good fighter. I think Gary, though, is going to be a bit much. He's a bit, I think, faster and stronger and more powerful. And it's going to, I think, a good opportunity for Gary to get a good win against a very reputable and quality opponent. And I'm very intrigued also by the co-feature of this card, which is David Benavidez, who is the I would say the people's mandatory challenger for the super middleweight title. Everybody wants to see him fight Canelo Alvarez, but he hasn't. Canelo has not been willing to fight him at this point. So David, who's been making 168 pounds for his entire career, about a decade, is going up for the opportunity to fight for a belt in the interim belt in the 175-pound division against a very reputable former world champion, Olympian. He was a teammate of Alexander Usyk, who's now the undisputed heavyweight champion, and Vasily Lomachenko, one of the lightweight champions. His name is Alexander Vodzik, fighting from Ukraine, and he's an excellent fighter. He was in a retirement for about 3 years, but he's come out of retirement, won 3 fights in a row, and so him and David Benavidez should be a very intriguing fight for the co-feature. It is a very good card, and they don't pay me to say that. I wish they would.
So, Dan, all the stuff this week on social media between Tank and Floyd, does any of that actually matter, or is that just all kind of nonsense that people on the internet like to talk about?
I mean, it's a little childish. I mean, it's like they were once. I'll use the analogy. It was like if you're a big fan of Star Wars, it's like you had Floyd and he's the master over Gervonta, and then suddenly Gervonta, they break apart from each other and they're no longer there, and he wants to cut down the old guy. So they have this back and forth that's very childish. I don't quite understand all of it, but Floyd, who's the adult comparatively, I guess, is on his social media like putting up nonsensical things that the fight is canceled, which is obviously not true, but he's putting that out, to his tens of millions of social media followers, which is kind of, to be quite honest, very low class. So, and Gervonta, he gives it back to him also. So they both, if they could just both keep their mouths shut and avoid each other, it may be better off, but they're acting like children.
All right. So if everything goes right for Tank this weekend and he does take care of business against Frank Martin, everybody keeps begging for one of these big fights. Everybody keeps asking Lopez, Stevenson, whatever it would be. Do you think that's in the cards before the year is over?
I mean, I sure hope so. And it's funny because typically when you have this kind of fight in terms of a star in the bout, everybody you may not get the exact fight, but everybody sort of can see a pathway to like what's the next big one. And when it comes to Tank, I mean, you mentioned some great names. You mentioned, I think you said Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson. I forget if you mentioned anybody else. There's, the thing about Tank right now is he's fighting as a lightweight. His biggest fights in terms of the fan interest and the money are probably at the junior welterweight division. But when I asked him, and I think he said this to some other reporters also, that he's really not that interested at this point to go up to 140 pounds. I mean, he said he would if it was the biggest fight. But, he has a different definition probably of what that would take in terms of the finances. So I'm not really sure. He may want to stick around and continue to defend the title at lightweight. Now, if that's the case, maybe they could make a Shakur Stevenson fight. Right. Shakur has a fight that's coming up in early July. Now, he's going to become a free agent promotionally after that fight's over. So he'll be able to negotiate with anybody. Even though if he was still with his promoter, they could still try to work it out. It just makes it easier if he's not, if he is a free agent. So maybe that's a possibility. That would obviously be a pretty intriguing fight with the great stylish boxing skills and defense of Shakur against the tremendous offensive prowess of Tank Davis. But I just don't know if that's a fight that they would move towards at this moment in time. I think Shakur would take it in a heartbeat. I'm not sure what Gervonta has in his mind of what he wants to do. I would love to see him go to 140 and tangle with like a Teofimo Lopez, for example. That's a huge fight to me.
That would be a massive fight. There's no question about it. All right, Dan, what all can we plug for you? The Substack, everything that you're doing, social media. Where can people be giving you a follow?
Well, what they should do is if they like boxing content on YouTube, is go to what's called the Title Sports Network. I am their boxing person, and we do all kinds of video content. And it's a channel that we just started up in May with myself and some other people. We cover boxing, wrestling, MMA, UFC, and people can check that out. We've been doing videos here and breaking down all the boxing material. And I also have the podcast I work on with my partner, TJ Reeves, the Big Fight Weekend podcast, which you can get in all of your podcast outlets, Google, Spotify, you name it.
Awesome. Dan, really appreciate taking the time for us this morning. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the card. And we'd love to chat again down the road.
You bet. Anytime. I'm always here to talk about Tank.
Thanks, man. That's Dan Rafael with us here on GCR, longtime boxing writer. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning as we get ready for Tank Davis and Frank Martin tomorrow night. All right, when we come back in, we'll get a tidbit and we'll get Tubular to wind things down for a Friday edition of GCR.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Driesell with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
I feel like we got into everything that we needed to get to today. Was there anything that we didn't cover? I feel Maryland sticking around with Under Armour. That's not. I mean, could you imagine if Maryland was
Thank
like,
goodness.
Hey, Kevin, love you. We're gonna go ahead and go to Nike now. Like, could you imagine?
We're gonna become Jordan.
Obviously, they were gonna stick with Under Armour, but they made the announcement they're sticking with Under Armour. Did you see that Coleman Hawkins got $2 million to in an NIL deal to go to Kansas State?
Wow.
Which, like, you know, you can debate whether or not Coleman Hawkins is worth throwing all the money at you. I don't care. Like, I mean,
He's out of the Big Ten.
What's that?
He's out of the Big Ten.
He is out of the Big Ten, and he hated Maryland. Like, remember, he did the whole bit where they like trolled Maryland after they finally won a game against Maryland last year, and he was like wearing a Maryland shirt in the video afterwards. Like, he had some serious beef with Maryland. What's interesting to me, it's not really a debate, but whatever you can get, I'm all good. Coleman Hawkins managing to get $2 million. God bless you, dude. Like, go get it, man. I guess the interesting part to me is, how does Kansas State have that type of NIL money? Like, why is Kansas State basketball the program that's able to come up with $2 million? Of all of the programs, they're the ones that are like, by the way, we come play for us, we'll get you $2 million. It's just wild. It really is wild to me.
I guess they want to be able to compete with Kansas, like they want to.
Sure, but like I don't think this is that one player for 1 year is suddenly
going all his own money.
It's so weird, man. It's so weird that Kansas State is the program that's just throwing crazy money around in the NIL portal. And I guess I don't know if this reflects too any of the like revenue sharing that you're not allowed to do with athletes. I don't remember that came through this settlement. I don't know how any of that looks, but Coleman Hawkins, the point is that he's headed to Kansas State. And if you missed it yesterday, Terrence Shannon Jr. was acquitted in the rape trial that had sort of followed that team and that program all season long. So it's no longer obviously relevant for Illinois, but it's very relevant for his standing going towards the NBA draft. So Terrence Shannon Jr. was acquitted yesterday on those charges. Is there anything else? I think that's it. I think we covered everything. The U.S. Open's happening. Patrick Cantlay had a nice first round. People around here are big Patrick Cantlay fans the day that he went up against Bryson DeChambeau in the BMW out at Caves a couple years ago because everybody hated Bryson. I'm not a golf person, so I'm not really sure what the story. I just know that everybody hated.
No one likes Bryson.
Everybody hated Bryson. Although the PGA Championship, not everybody hated Bryson. But that day, everyone hated Bryson. And the place was going wild because it was a great crowd. It was all revved up. It was like these guys are ripping apart the course, and everybody was drunk. And like that crowd was going crazy for Patrick Cantlay. And the entire list of reasons was not Bryson DeChambeau. No other reasons. Like that was it. So I don't know if like anybody around here is like kept their Patrick Cantlay bona fides dating back to what year would that have been? Was that 2021 BMW Championship? I think it was. I don't know if anybody's maintained their support. Yeah, it was 2021 of Patrick Cantlay since then, but he got off to a nice start. I haven't even looked today to see what's going on there. The U.S. Open leaderboard. Because he hasn't teed off yet today. Rory just stroked back. Oh, and Bryson DeChambeau. Oh, we could have a rematch. Echoes of the 2021 BMW Championship at Caves Valley. Bryson DeChambeau just a stroke back of Patrick Cantlay right now. Ooh, that could be
very
exciting. I think everybody would talk about it. Like it set the tone. Caves Valley set the tone for the 2024 U.S. Open.
Where's Scotty? What did Scotty do yesterday?
Not great.
That doesn't sound like Scotty.
Not great. Apparently, I just kept seeing Drew tweet about his putting, so I don't know. I can't pretend like I'm watching, but something about the putting. He's 5 over.
What? That's absurd.
Doesn't seem still rattled perhaps by his arrest. All right, it is time for us to do this.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what you got for tidbits?
All right, so we were talking about Tyler Locklear, and the reason he did get called up was because Ty France went to the IL because he got hit by a pitch over the weekend, last weekend, I should say. And so that opened up a roster spot for the Mariners. But however, when he got hit by that pitch, Ty France, he set the Mariners franchise record for most hit by pitches.
Oh, all right, let's go!
He passed Edgar Martinez.
Did they stop the game? Did they have a?
I don't know. I don't know
ceremony.
If they stopped the game. I think they were in Kansas they were in Kansas City. I think they were. So,
okay.
So no, they don't. I don't think they did. I don't think Kansas City recognized them.
That's a shame.
Unfortunately, but it did make me want to find out, who has been hit by the most pitches in Orioles history.
In Orioles history?
And yes, in Orioles.
I mean, you're just gonna have to go with the guys that have been around the longest. Brooks.
Not Brooks. Let's do. I guess we can do all the guys that have been hit by 50 or more pitches. So Brooks would be last on that list. He'd be 7th. So I want the top 6 moving forward.
All right, so I'm trying to figure out how I could. So my two thoughts are go with the guys with the most longevity and goes with the guys that hit the most home runs because you'd probably want to pitch those guys inside a little bit more. So I'll say Cal.
Yes, Cal is on the list. 66 hit by
How many
pitches.
guys am I
He's
supposed
top
to come
4.
up with?
I would like you to get the top 6.
All right.
Or top 7, since you got Brooks. So
Oh,
top
my
7.
God.
But there's 5 more.
I'll throw in Eddie.
Eddie's not on the list.
And I'll throw in Frank.
Frank is on the list.
Okay.
Frank 58, 8 behind Cal.
Now I'll try Chris Davis.
Chris Davis is on the list. You have 4 through 7.
Okay.
So
The
we're looking
guys
for
with
the
the
top
most.
3.
Brady Anderson.
Brady Anderson is number 1
Wow.
with a bullet as well.
Now that
100.
I wonder if some of those were purposeful because guys thought he was using steroids, so they were like, "Let's throw at him."
148. That is the Orioles record.
Well, how about
148
that?
hit by pitches.
How about anybody threatening? Anybody coming up behind this?
No. I'm pulling up the active list now. Or I'm about to.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Ken Singleton.
No, not Ken Singleton.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Not Palmeiro.
Chris Hoyles.
No, not Chris Hoyles.
Seems like a guy.
44, so he's what is he? He's like top 11.
How about Paul Blair?
No, not Paul Blair.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how I can.
Was just staring into the distance for a minute.
I'm trying to figure out how I can.
Adam Jones.
Adam Jones is on the list. Yes.
Okay.
He is 3rd. 94 hit by pitches.
Whoa.
As an Oriole.
Whoa. Brian Roberts.
Not Brian Roberts.
Nick Markakis.
Not Nick Markakis.
Don Buford.
Not Don Buford. You're kind of in the correct area with those Markakis and Roberts. You could go a little bit before their time. Very.
Miguel Tejada.
Not Miguel Tejada. Tejada's at 45, so he's in the top 10.
Luke Scott.
Not Luke Scott.
Who has what does he have?
10 home runs.
Yeah,
he has the
10
record for most home runs in your first 10 career games against a single team.
How about that? Melvin Mora.
Melvin Mora.
Okay.
Number 2 all time in Orioles history. 107 hit by pitches.
All right. Look at that.
Anthony Santander leads the way among active Orioles. 34.
No, he's not even trying. Oh, God. What a bum. I mean, lay out a little bit, right?
Austin Hayes has been hit 27
Take one for
times.
the team. Let's go. All right, we got to do. Let's wrap up the show. We'll get totally tubular for the weekend.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Phillies Orioles for 3 this weekend. Hopefully starting tonight, 7 o'clock on Masson. Ranger Suarez, Kyle Bradish. The pitching matchup tomorrow. Masson and MLB Network and the rest of the country. Taijuan Walker and Grayson Rodriguez at 4. Sunday at 1:30. Zach Wheeler and Corbin Burns, Masson, and also that one's on ESPN Plus in the rest of the country. So some opportunities if you don't live in this area to see the Birds this weekend. Celtics try to close out the NBA Finals tonight, Game 4, 8:30 on ABC. U.S. Open coverage moves to NBC at 1 o'clock today, and then it goes back to Peacock tonight at 7. Tomorrow it's 10 a.m. on the USA Network, 12 p.m. on NBC. Sunday, same 9 a.m. on USA, noon on NBC. What else matters this weekend? The Euro gets underway today. Germany heavy favorites against Scotland this afternoon, 3
Viva
o'clock
Colombia!
on Fox.
I guess that's not the
the
Euros,
next tournament.
but
that's
we
not
want
going to be
Colombia to win
this
no matter
tournament.
what.
Stupid. Fox tomorrow for Spain, Croatia at
Oh, my
noon.
Euro teams.
Italy, Albania at 3. And on Sunday, FS1 for Poland, Netherlands at 9 a.m. Slovenia,
Netherlands,
Denmark
go
at noon.
Go Slovenia.
Serbia and
Go Serbia.
England Sunday at 3 on Fox.
Those are my big 3.
Got it.
They all play.
You know, the XFL Championship Sunday. You knew that. Obviously, that's a big one.
I
5
will be
o'clock.
sitting down for it.
Birmingham Stallions and San Antonio Brahmas.
That'll be a great afternoon.
Big,
Whips,
big.
Whips at 3. UFL Championship at 5.
Yeah, that's right. The Whips on ESPN Plus. They're getting the plus treatment because it's been a bad start. 3 o'clock on Sunday, and that's in Philadelphia, right? That's where this week the Water Dogs are hosting this weekend. Stanley Cup Final Game 4 as the Panthers try to close it out tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on ABC. As we mentioned, Amazon Prime pay-per-view for Gervonta Davis and Frank Martin. The card starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I think everything else, you can go to glennclarkradio.com and find it there. What you got non-sports wise?
That was the other thing. Kamzat pulled out. He was going to be the main event next week.
No.
So that is
God.
Really disappointing. So I think they actually pulled the guy from the co-main of this week's. So this week's card got even lighter.
Boy.
Yeah. No, nothing. Really nothing. House of Dragon fans, they'll be excited. Season 2, House of the Dragon on HBO Sunday night.
Blind spot for your boy.
And Monkey Man comes to streaming. It's on Peacock available.
Is it about the Rolling Stones song Monkey Man?
No,
that would be
the
great.
Jordan Peele movie that came out in April, I think. It's available in streaming now.
All right.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. You mentioned Clash of the Castle, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, but that is this weekend. You're right about
Peacock
that.
as well.
Okay, there's nothing else.
There's nothing else. It is a very.
What's out in theaters this week?
I don't think anything.
No,
I mean
there's
movies.
There's
movies.
Something out this weekend, new in theaters.
I think. The Sean Penn, I think, might have a movie. With Dakota Johnson.
Inside Out 2, is that this week?
Oh, that is this week. Okay, yeah. All right, Inside Out 2.
This guy.
I'm not.
It's a pretty significant film, dog.
I agree. I'm excited for Inside Out 2. I do streaming stuff.
I understand that, but when I ask
TV.
when I say what's out in theaters this week, and you say nothing.
All right, I don't know. I'll say.
Yeah, that's fine. Say that. Jesus.
I'm trying to figure out.
Dominic Lombardozzo's in a movie that comes out this week. It's called Fresh Kills. I don't know anything about that, but there you go. That's what's coming.
Really?
Up.
He's in.
I love Dominic.
When I'm trying to figure out when this.
You know what? It's a different person. It's not who I'm thinking of.
Quiet Place is 2 weeks.
I'm of course thinking of Herc, who's Dominic Lombardozzi.
Yeah.
This person is apparently Dominic Lombardozzo. Now there's just no way. How is that possible? Lombardozzo. No, it's the same guy. They're just saying his name wrong.
They're spelling his name wrong?
This is what's this website? Collider is spelling his name wrong. I just play on the trailer. That's Herc. I promise you. If there's anything I know in my life, it's that man. It's in this movie Fresh Kills. Fresh Kills is a crime drama set in New York during the 1980s. Jennifer Esposito plays Francine. She's married to into a large organized crime family based in Brooklyn. She tries to turn a blind eye to the more brutal aspects of Joe, who they say is played by Dominic Lombardozzo, but there is no such thing as a Dominic Lombardozzo. Not a thing. It's Herc, who is, of course, Dominic Lombardozzi.
Daddy-O, that's the name of the movie.
Don't care about that. I care about getting to the bottom of this controversy.
Sean Penn and Dakota
Track
Johnson.
down Dominic Lombardozzi. I want to chat with him next week. Isaiah Whitlock would come on with us. Comes on all the time. We're a home team. That's what we are. I want to watch this movie, and I want to talk to Dominic Lombardozzi, and then I want to find out his anger about Collider not knowing who he is. How dare you, Collider, not respect the greatness of Herc? That's it. I'm done. I'm not even going to thank everybody. I'm all riled up.
Should know. I mean, that is embarrassing for Collider.
Everything else.
Bad for Collider. Bad.
I guess I should thank everybody. Thanks today.
Do you want to know about Daddy-O? I guess not.
No, I don't care about. Stop trying to put Daddy-O over, and I got to get out of here so I can get down and not watch a baseball game tonight.
Good point.
Thanks today to Ben Davis, Buck Showalter. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section.
Dan Rafael, appreciate him.
Oh, right. Sorry. Thank you. Wasn't on the. Yes. We'll get all of it up. The greatest hits section of the.
Oh, my God. It's so good.
Tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, the Bat Around. Paul and Ryan. Sunday, 12 to 2. Reed and I, our very special Father's Day show on 105.7 The Fan. I know Jordan Westberg's dad, Paul, is joining us. I don't know yet who else. I think Griffin's going to have to help me out with a couple of those calls today because, again, I got a very important date with David Rubenstein, as everybody knows. Just me and Uncle Ruby. Like, we're getting together.
Very nice of him to invite you up.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was lovely. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise, Maryland. Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. The MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Go Whipsnakes. Viva Italia. Although I can't. It's complicated now because Jeremy's got him. Son of a bitch.
You can't root for him.
Duke sucks.